Okay, there we're live. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so you asked, what do we want to discuss?
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess sort of like what you're doing whenever you're on Good Mother is, I mean, in my view, you are focused on feminism in your country. Is that sort of your top priority, or like what is your I mean, what are you passionate about?
MGTOW philosophy?
Ah, okay, and like so that's obviously sort of the counterculture to feminism, or you see that as the viable strategy to sort of counter feminism, or is it just that you just want to live by sort of the best way you can, but you're kind of coping that sort of it's a bit of a cope, but you have to make do with what you make do with.
What is the antonym of cope? Failure. So I just want to cope for self sustenance. So that is my strategy. Regarding because a man is fully capable of living alone by himself and not trying to deal with the hullabaloo that is going on around him
Hmm.
regarding
It's-
each and everything.
So I'm just wondering though, like why sorry, I believe we're still on the thread of like, what do we want to discuss together? So, I mean, we're two guys. I mean, so like when you're on Good Mother's show, like, are you complaining about the feminists, or are you sort of saying that like I'm trying to be proactive because I would rather not be like I'm an involuntary mitgal, or so you are. It is a cope, or because you implicitly agreed that it was a cope, but you didn't define it yourself. So like because you
Uh,
gave a reason to agree with me, but you didn't define it. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. I could give the timeline.
Oh, no, no. Well,
Uh,
it doesn't have to be your time. I'm just what is your thinking on it, on the subject matter? Sort of from the top down kind of thing. Like
uh,
what was your decision making? Because I don't need to know the history. I just need to know sort of like what your view on it is. Or it doesn't have to be historical.
okay. Uh, my thing is that I want other men to learn from the mistakes that have happened in the past, to sort of, shall I say, maneuver around the checks and balances that have been put in place to empower a man to a level where he has to, you know, tweak his nature or tweak his words to deal with this, circus going on around him.
Okay. So yeah, so you're trying to find some way to have a stable power base for people's like fundamental self-esteem, that it's not being assaulted by what's going on in culture, which is like essentially undermining. Uh, you see, like, I mean, sorry, I mean, if you don't mind, I mean, can I just give my 2 cents on what you said?
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Because I mean, I do think that it's weird because it's like in my view it's two separate subjects. It's like the culture is one thing, and then like your experience of other people in the immediate is another thing, and it's like because I almost like to think that like even though you can I think you should sorry, I mean this is so, I think that what you should do in some sense is be an unconscious mitgao, like essentially like that you should find a way to be mitgao, like indirectly, but by doing something else constructively, so it's almost as like this is not like the title or the heading of this way of life that I'm trying to co-create right now. Like I'm literally just making the shit up, like it's coming to the top of my head. I'm just sort of running from inspiration, so this might be complete bullshit, but my the kernel of the idea is that like can you live in a world where you probably where you probably are not going to be able to have like a stable relationship. Because I mean, like that's the position that I'm in. I mean, I'm past my sell-by date. Like I'm 35 now. Like I have no, like I'm sorry to blather about myself, but sort of like I got kicked out of university because of like false rape accusation. I got kicked out of Rhodes University for that. Essentially, like the judge said that it was not a false rape. Sorry, the judge said that it was. When the judge acquitted me, he didn't just acquit me. He didn't find me not guilty. He found me innocent. He said in his decision that this was a false rape allegation. That's what the judge actually said in his judgment. But like, so I tried to do my next year, and like the people, like just I don't know, like uh, I got sort of like it felt like a cult was sort of anyway, but and this was a foreign university to me because I had to go to another province to go to university because my local university, which actually has a higher caliber in the world standing, like is right on my doorstep. Cape Town University is like was a world class university, and I couldn't get in with my marks because I'm like a B and C student on average at high school. Because like, if you don't mind me saying, I consider myself to be a genius, but like a lot of geniuses don't do very well in high school because they've got like other things going on. Like all my teachers said, like you are going to be amazing at tertiary education. Like because they all knew that I was a genius. Like each one of my teachers, I think were sort of almost lining up to write recommendation letters because there was no way that I was going to get in. And one of my teachers said one day, because she was thinking, I guess she was thinking about this herself, and she said, you're not going to get in, like because she had heard through the grapevine that like B and C white students don't get into university anymore, which is sad because they are the real in my culture. All of this is culturally specific. So like depending on your education system, depending on your syllabus, because some syllabuses are more top down and some are more bottom up. I mean, because I've gone to like top grade universities and been taught math. Like when you being taught math from the at a top rate university, like I can pick it up quickly. Like I can do like 12 years of syllabus or they all do that. Like at the top grade universities, the speed at which. Sorry, I'm blathering, but so sorry, I'm just trying to say my life has been cut down. So like I didn't get
Because of
anywhere.
feminism,
Yeah,
isn't
I
it?
mean, well, no, it's more the race thing in where I am.
Okay, but the accusation was made by someone from a different gender. Was it or was it not?
Yes, well, you say that. I mean, I think I look back on it now, and I think that this ideology, like, because when you say gender, I mean, obviously you mean that kind of politically, because I would say, I mean, her biological sex was female. But I mean, looking back on it now, like in terms of the identity that she was using to create this whole thing was masculine. I think that essentially I mean, I do think that they are playing at equalizing, so they are pretending to be like the strongest masculine sort of idea that they have. They're playing out. I mean, that's what it seems to me. Like in terms of, or I mean, like I've been in shouting matches with these people where I was sort of being mobbed by like six people in a corridor, like at one university, and I was disagreeing with one of them, and then they all rose up and like just started, like because they're trying to bully you into submission, or it's like it literally is, sort of like animal conditioning. It's like Pavlovian kind of, I was just watching this Lauren Southern video. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the one on Tolkien. Did you watch that?
Yes, I know who she is, and I know who she is infamous for as well.
I don't know the famous for no, but specifically the video about Tolkien, because the Tolkien video that she did that I just watched, like kind of blew my mind. It's quite
Um,
interesting.
I think you are still lagging behind as far as the relational dynamics are concerned. Not in terms of psychology. In psychology, you are a damn genius. even better than Dr. Jordan Peterson, from what I have seen with your conversations with Godmother. What you are lagging behind in how women use these sharp and shrewd tactics for their own undue influence and advantage
Mm.
that they could further use to disempower a man, which they have done traditionally as well. Traditionally as well. In a patriarchal society, they have done the exact same job. It is just that now the state itself is backing them. You are presumed guilty unless proven otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the word that comes to mind is kangaroo court to me.
Oh yeah, surely, surely. Courts, out of court settlements are a multi-billion-dollar industry. Corrupt. There is a whole nexus of corrupt judges, corrupt politicians, corrupt lawyers, as well as corrupt police personnel, if I could say.
So the reason why I bring up the J.R.R. Tolkien thing is because she goes over letters with J.R.R. Tolkien, and J.R.R. Tolkien was sort of talking about using some of his language from Lord of the Rings and talking about politics because he's like quite a staunch libertarian, kind of like an anarchist, or not exactly like like he doesn't believe in the state, but he believes that essentially cultural mores around sexual promiscuity and sexual, like that those like cause sin because he was quite Christian, and he talks about these things in this very political way, but he's using a kind of code because he's mixing it in with his fantasy ideal, idea of how history is going to unfold, in the metaphor of Lord of the Rings. And he literally says the machines after Second World War are like taking over. And I'm pretty sure he meant the mentality of the people, because he says, in his view, where all of this started was that after the Second World War, that people cheered the the fact that Germany lost the war, and he thought that that was essentially uncivilized. Like, I mean, he hated the Nazis, he really did. But how the people celebrated the defeat of Germany and sort of the scorn on Germany, he saw that as being like so vacuous and morally hollow. And then he said that essentially that they're like machines, and I just connect this in my mind to the Matrix, because I do think I don't know if have you seen all the four Matrix movies?
Not four, but three, the old ones.
I know that the fourth one, the word is that it's quite corrupted, but I think it does actually have a solution to this, which is that, and I must say, like, I think we shouldn't worry about these people because I think that they won't reproduce. So they're just going to die out. And all we have to do is like not care about the culture, but just care about the one on one. Like just find a woman. Like you don't like it might, it's going to be hard, but like try find one that you can either take out of the matrix because they're a machine, or sort of convert them, or find one that isn't incepted, the unicorn, as they say.
Unicorns are pretty rare. I mean, it is a part of semantics. I don't indulge in that. But what I do care about is if that is the case, then there are some patriarchal communities or patriarchal elements of some communities that you could try to engage in so that you could have your own patriarchal, microscopic, minuscule community, uh, which would be least bothered about other things rather than just increasing your quote unquote demography.
Hmm.
And as French philosopher Auguste Comte once said, demography is destiny. Future belongs to those who show up. Now, my point is, how would you have a demography without patriarchy or the realization of the hunter gatherer phenomena? Now, you cannot have both. Once you have all these laws and legislatures that are in place to disempower a man, to put a man and a woman on equal terms, on equal footing, and that too, even after doing that, you have to put two bullets on the backside of a man and tell him to run in a race with a woman, and he is going to lag behind anyways, and he is going to die. And as civilizations become less masculine, they are actually taken over by more virile, I would say, and more masculine rival civilizations. Just like when US left Afghanistan very recently, Taliban took over within 16 hours or something, and they came in AK-47 guns blazing. What did they do very recently? They banned women from entering into schools, little girls. That is how even Boko Haram, Al Shabaab, every Islamic faction operates. There is a patriarchal model, and if you try to disturb that patriarchal model, you are going to have to deal with them. So, that is the concept. Now, as far as my journey is concerned, or what I'm passionate about, which was your earlier question as well, I was lost in the process of it, processing it. But my realization is that whatever you, right now, I'm looking at a computer screen and seeing you. You are hearing my voice. It is via your own five senses that you are sensing me. So, whether it is taste, touch, pleasure, sadness, ecstasy, anything, anything that you are experiencing heat, cold, anything you are experiencing within yourself. You are not experiencing anything outside of yourself. So this experiential mindset, I just want to extend it further regarding a relationship, or regarding having a family, which is all going to be artificial. And that was my video which was shown when you were present on Good Mother stream, talking about some stuff uh, regarding she will never love you. It is a mutual exploitation that happens in a relationship or a marriage, mutual, and it is always mutual, that the woman give the youth and the beauty to a man, and he, therefore a competitive man with a greater physical prowess or something, he tries to actually protect and provide for their offsprings. And the woman, after her heydays are gone, that is the mutual exploitation that happens. A man has to also pay for her and use her resources, exploit his own inherent or acquired resources accumulated over a period of time. That does not happen today. Women walk away scot free in family courts by saying, he cheated on me, he has a mistress, he sexually violated me within a relationship as well, within a relationship, by the way, which was a mutual agreement. So how could there be a sexual violation
No, no,
unless and
no, no,
until
no. I mean, no, but even within a committed relationship, uh, I mean, if she reports that she did not consent to the act,
yes, that
then
is called marital rape. That would be called
okay.
as marital rape or a relational rape, whatever. But
But then what was the point that you're making? I don't understand the difference.
I'm saying that you entered into a relationship with that man, knowing that men have sex. Men are more visual
Yeah,
and
no, no, no,
physical
but
by nature.
no, but then surely then the port of call is divorce. So if you want to have sex and she doesn't want to have sex, and you can't reach a compromise or a settlement or a mediated agreement or something like that, then the solution is divorce. It's not rape.
No, it is not divorce. It is just that in in a divorce court, what does happen? What happens in a family court? She walks away with 50% of his resources, which he has accumulated over a period of time. If the answer is divorce, then she has to walk away with what she came in when she entered in the relationship with the man.
No, but that's that. Well, I don't know the legal system in your country, but in my country, if you want that, what you do is you have to actually decide between the mother and the father before they get married. Sorry, if they're going to have children or whatever, or that they have to have an anti-nuptial contract where they explicitly exclude, like for example, every jurisdiction has a default marital regime usually because well it depends I guess how you I don't know how you the Indian legal system works, but in my country the default is in community of property, so which is quite harsh obviously, because if it's in community of property that means that in a divorce it's kind of messy and it's expensive and it's down the middle, and if you don't want that default, then you have to sign a contract that makes a new regime, that makes an alternative regime. And so that's the solution is you do it contract. If you don't want that as the default, you make your own rules, you make your own bed, as they say. But does that not work for you? Can't you do that?
No, because in exercising a man's authority over his own little fiefdom or castle, which he has created for himself and his family, a woman is bringing in other men, i.e., the state and the government, to deal with him, to rub it in his face, and trying to break his heart in the process.
But what do you think marriage is? I mean, do you not believe that in law?
I believe in natural law, just like breathing in oxygen, breathing out carbon dioxide, the life process, which is
Yeah.
sexual intercourse and a physical relationship, having offsprings, giving birth to children. I'll believe in all that. But I don't believe in a piece of paper that tells me that I would be presumed guilty unless proven otherwise. I would not believe in a piece of paper that would shame me for having my own masculine nature and tell me that I'm a potential rapist, as enunciated by one of the former feminists named Andrea Dworkin in her 1987 book named Intercourse.
Okay. No, so I just sorry. I hit my keyboard by mistake while I'm trying to move this thing to make my desk change. Sorry. Is the stream still working? Yes, it is. Okay. Um, so my point is, sorry, is that I mean we're kind of conflating like three subjects here, though. I mean, as far as I can tell, is that because I'm just trying to work out. Isn't there a way to get what you want inside the law? Isn't there a way that like you can have your cake and eat it, as it were? That's I mean, because you're kind of conflating what some feminists think, and which are maybe some women in society, obviously, probably, maybe I don't know how great a proportion or not, and then you also have so you have what the culture says, you have what the people in politics say, but at the end of the day, it's you and a judge. And can you stand up for yourself? And I'm just trying to say is like, aren't there steps that you can take to feather your own bed, as it were? Because you just want to say no, no, no. Natural law should give me what I want, and but the thing is that the state, there are regulations and there's also the law of the land. And can't you get what you want by trying to describe what you want in that frame?
Laws are made for people's convenience, not for people's inconvenience. And the first law of as far as jurisprudence is concerned, uh, the sovereign since the concept of nation and statehood came 250 years ago, the sovereignty of the state is supreme, not of its people or citizens, I would say. So there is no sort of grievance redressal for men regarding anything, whether their kids are being taken away from them, and when they commit a suicide, whether it is work related stress, anything. A man says there is always this factor, classic factor of negationism, negating what a man says, ridiculing him, demonizing him, dehumanization of men just to prove a point, and conflating it with all the other men. This is what I'm saying. Andrea Dworkin, just a second. This is what Andrea Dworkin suggested in her book, which I mentioned, and I would tell you the reason behind it as well. Andrea Dworkin in 1987 wrote a book named Intercourse, okay, in which she's a British feminist. She coined the term political lesbianism as well. Political lesbianism, she suggested for all women. And she said in her book, suggested, I mean, that sex with a heterosexual man is equal to rape because the woman is always in a submissive position. Hence, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, all men are potential rapists by default. And that has been the strategy wherever you go with these Marxist policies, in either in university, academia, activism, social hierarchy, business organizations, government organizations who celebrate International Women's Day, but they laugh it off when it comes to International Men's Day. I mean, I'm just not seeing some sort of parity or equality, because it is all about equality of outcome, and equality of outcome has been always at the expense of negating, dehumanizing, demonizing, and ridiculing a man and his masculine nature. That still happens, by the way, which is happening even right now as we speak.
Well, sorry. Thank you for that. That is more information. But I think my general outline still stands, and I just want to go back to my example. So when I was in this hall being shouted at by like seven angry feminists in this like little corner side alley or whatever, and then I raised my voice to this woman, and then she said, "You're assaulting me." Because like whatever she feels goes or something like that. After she what she said to me was demeaning to me and was dehumanizing, and I complained as such, and I even substantiated a whole very reasonable argument, and I laid it all out, and I raised my voice because she was sort of interrupting me, and she what they do, like it's like a pack of wolves, and then she said this man is like assaulted this woman, and then she said you're rape, and then she said that I raped her, because I guess according to that definition that's what happened, because I put her in a diminutive position, but I did so out of, I would say, true authority, because I was using reason to substantiate my case. And they ended up taking me. They called the police, and I said, "Oh, I'm glad, because then I can point." I can't remember exactly what the content of the argument was, but I would say that, like, that they had literally crossed the line, that they were in the territory of crimen injuria, and they did crimen injuria before I was defending myself, essentially. And so, in crimen injuria is the crime in my legal system that means that someone has uh, done non-patrimonial damage to your personality. It's when your personality has been infringed. Um, so, it can also be if your privacy is infringed as well. So it's sort of like anything that's essentially that's private or whatever. If you've been sort of so it's an immaterial form of damage. It's kind of it's a psychological concept in our law, and so she did criminal injuria to me, and that's what I told the policeman. But the policeman that rocked up just saw a bunch of women, and he was the fucking white knight, and so he took me in, and I said, "You take her with, because I want to talk to the constable, and then if I don't talk to the constable, then I want to talk to the prosecutor." Because I know my way around the system, as it were. And eventually they skulked off. I mean, after hours and hours and hours in the police station, and I pleaded my case to the constable with them essentially in this little lobby, of the police office. She realized that she was fucking wrong. And then I said, this is all for nothing, because, this is what I said at the time. I'm just repeating myself. She's a slanderer. She's a liar. She went from dishonesty to greater dishonesty. It was just an escalating thing. And I said, and then you brought me in, and I reprimanded him. I said, because I was talking about it then. When he arrived, I tried to calm the situation, and I tried to give the field of events, but she kept on interrupting, and the chorus of what do they call them? Flying monkeys, she was the Wicked Witch of the West that day, and then that was a troop of flying monkeys that came in to support her little terrorist cultural attack, But the system itself in my system, has integrity, but the people themselves are actually quite low IQ, and they're quite stupid. But I just wanted to say that earlier. Sorry, do you have any comments on that? Because I do have a way to transpose this into making it meaningful to the actual predicament of the individual. Sorry, continue.
No, I just wanted to, just a small observation on your situation and what you had gone through. It was a rarest of rare examples where a man would walk away scot free.
Well, I've walked away scot-free every time. I mean, they've never got me. I mean, obviously, they've made my life very inconvenient. And I mean, I can't talk to people, because when I talk to people in public, I have to be indirect. No, I have to be, direct or
Subtle?
nondescript. Sorry.
No, you have to be a little bit subtle. Use a little bit of sophistries of the world, isn't it?
No. I don't do that, because that is to be indirect. And I think that to be indirect with someone is dishonest. And so instead, what I do is I'm either nondescript or I'm direct. And if I'm direct, that's personal. And that's problematic, because you have to have privacy to be personal. So, like, for example, I was at like a kind of I keep wanting to say massage parlor. I was at a tattoo parlor, and they do piercings and stuff like that. And the lady behind the counter, was sort of very proper, seemed feminist to me, and sort of very, because she's, and I was, I don't know what she thought about me or whatever, but I mean, there's so much sort of communication lag. There's so much, it's so hard, because like if you use gendered words, it's like, it's a booby trap, So you have to find a way to communicate that like doesn't set off all their alarm bells or whatever. And so, because that's where like I fall into that trap, because it's a trap that they have, which I don't respect, and I don't think it's proper, because like there's nothing wrong with saying, what did I say? I think I used like a gendered noun, I think. I can't remember the word itself, but I could tell that she winced when I said it, which, I thought was just, like just so, like,
It
you're
happens. It happens.
going to censor my communication, And she was
Yes,
very,
yes.
very friendly, and she was very, sort of cool. She was courteous, but it's like, so like my word choice is like is the problem in society today, when like Kuberg nuclear power station is going to melt down and we're all going to be irradiated and die. Like that's the problem that we have. and like you think that like policing my speech is something that you can do to me, like, or and that if I don't follow your rules, then you're going to sort of be nasty to me or something.
I mean, that happens because women could get away with adventurism because they know that the state is backing them up, because they know that other men standing over there are backing them up, and they are going to beat you down, and you would make the news the next day. 20 people mob lynched someone because they thought he was eve teasing a woman or something, or catcalling a woman or something. Because this is what happens everywhere, not only in India or South Africa or even in USA or Canada. It happens
I
everywhere.
I didn't
because
hear about.
because I mean, I'm just giving an example. I'm just giving
So
an
that they
example.
killed him. They actually killed him.
Yeah, happens all the
I've,
time.
that's the first I've heard. In my country, the only people that die are like literally. Well, actually, I guess I don't know if I've been told the truth because people keep on saying that they're killing trans people in the community or something like that. But I mean, that could just be their euphemism because I mean, according to them, I'm a rapist and I'm a whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it is uh, it is whatever at this point. But my your question was, could I find someone to work with in the current set of laws, and live happily ever after, the quote from the sapient novels of the 60s? I don't think so, because the current laws are as such. Whether it is in Canada, where English common law is there, we are also a Commonwealth country. India is also a Commonwealth country. So the English common law is common in both the countries. I mean, developed by the British, because we were a British colony. Okay, but that is the basis actually of the root cause, I would say, of all the problems that we are facing right now. Because the laws are as such that women could plead to the state to give them equality of outcome, give them everything, gender quotas and social welfare schemes only and only for girls and women, where boys are led astray. And these kind of things happen because these actually bring down your birth rates, these actually bring down your demography so much that you have to open your floodgates for the illegal and illegal immigrants to come in, and then a whole new scenario of a whole new civil war starts. That is happening on the North American continent right now. The current situation within USA as well as Canada, that is happening because it is very easy. Actually, I would say it is expediency of the state itself to have a systemic demographic replacement of the people, and replace them with new people who would vote for certain political dispensation which would fulfill their needs, and the other rival political disposition has to bid higher.
But don't. Sorry, can I interrupt?
Oh, sure.
But don't you think that like whatever they do, their family relations will be so unstable that the generation that comes from those people will turn against them?
I would not say so, because we are actually the living and breathing examples of the 1984 George Orwellian dystopian reality and the Animal Farm. Because whatever happens, whatever grievance you have, you cannot solve within your own community. You have to go to the state. You cannot go to the town hall meetings. You have to go to the state, and that is
Wait,
why.
okay, sorry, I just want to take you back to the law here, because I think that you say that the common law is the problem, but I say the common law is the solution, that you're too lazy to use it to its full extent.
Well,
Because
if
you,
there is,
you
if
want to rely on natural law, you said. Like,
oh yeah, sure, sure,
but natural law has
patriarchal law.
problems. Like, natural law has natural inherent implicit problems that it has a limit of application. You can't, like, I mean, do you really want to live without a state? I mean, if you want to be stateless, I mean, go live in Alaska. Like, go find some. I don't know. You go to Antarctica. I mean, like, find a state. I mean, find a state to your liking. I mean, like, there is no state that is just run by natural law. Natural law is the sea. Like, literally, you can go and create a vessel in international waters if you want to be just with natural law. Go to international waters.
Yeah, but I think people who disregard the law completely, and I have to be a law abiding citizen all the time, and
Yeah, but
then
I've
also.
already given you some ideas about like how you fix your situation. You don't have to take the deep. In a common law jurisdiction, you have whatever right you have the right of claim. So if you claim a right, you have it, unless the law does not permit it. And regulations aren't the same as the common law. So
Do you
like,
think this is the Victorian era of Queen Victoria, where
well, I don't.
your voice would be heard like Steve Austin, the famous common jurist? No, sir.
Well, I mean, it seems to me that I mean, I don't know all the details of India. I really don't. Because like, obviously, like when the British came to my country and they took it over, they kept most of the law. They just added a common law wrapper on it, and they gave us their procedural law, because our procedural law was supposedly inferior. It wasn't as efficient as their procedural law, or maybe they did that just that we could link up with all their things. But suppose, I mean, I've always been told, although I haven't done my own research, that the Roman Dutch procedural law is a bit of a nightmare, because it requires a kind of, anyway. But I mean, we're still in the Commonwealth, so I wonder if you can't take some of our wealth of our law and tell your judges, please look at how it works on paper in the South African system, and then import that into your common law and by right of claim. I mean, that's what
I
the
mean,
Commonwealth is for.
it is a bit naive to think
So you
that
don't think
way,
you have the
because
right of claim?
right of what?
The right of claim,
Claim to what?
whatever right you claim to have, that's the right of
Uh,
claim.
no, 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 no. I would tell you why. Because the Indian judiciary is filled with people from something called a collegium, in which
Yeah.
there is not a national judicial commission or an organization like the Human Rights Council or something, uh, which is a quasi judicial authority as well, and have their points of views expressed across the world. But it is actually a body where the judges themselves recruit new judges and appoint new judges. So sometimes the father is a Supreme Court judge, the son also ends up being a judge in Supreme Court. This happens all the time.
I mean,
Yes,
okay,
there is an examination you have to give to become a judge, but on whatever basis or merits you pass, corruption is there rampant in all the countries except for United States of Amnesia, where it is called as lobbying. Anyways, what I'm trying to get is the law is as such that it moves at a pachydermal sort of an elephantine pace in India.
sorry, I don't
It
understand the
takes
first word that you used there. Can you, the pattern? What is that?
Elephantine pace. Do you know the
Okay.
pace of an elephant?
Oh, okay. And the first word before that, you said pattern.
Pachydermal,
What does that mean?
slow,
Okay.
trying to straddle, actually.
Sorry. Straggle, you said.
Straddle, S
Oh,
T R A D L E.
I think you mean straggle.
Straddle.
No, no. Straddle is like having sex. Or it's like you straddle a horse, and it's a euphemism for locking the
Uh,
hips. I
Not
think you mean
quite.
straggle. If you straggle along, you go along slowly. Was this
No.
no?
Actually, oh, no, 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 no. The word I was looking for was
Was it straggle?
stride.
That's to go. If you stride, that's strong. To stride along means to move at a good pace.
No, not at a good pace, at a very slow pace.
When you stride, you're moving quite well. It's a positive connotation.
We strode along across the snowy fields. She came striding along to meet me. I mean, it actually means an Oxford dictionary to walk with long steps in a particular direction.
Yeah. So I mean, if you walk with long steps, you are moving quite quickly because it's a long distance each step.
Okay, so the antonym of that would be applicable here,
Yeah. So
meaning
which is
to
straggle?
walk
Which
with.
is straggle?
Okay, straggle.
Yeah. Anyway, or do you want to check up on straggle? You have an Oxford dictionary? I'm jealous. I don't. I'm pretty sure I
No, it
don't have.
is. I have opened in another window, by the way.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, what's the definition
Straggle
of
actually,
straggle?
uh, straggle actually means to grow, spread, or move in an untidy way in different directions.
Yeah, no, but when it's used in connection with movements, it means to meander. It means to sort of to kind of
Yes, I
uh,
understand meander.
dilly dally. It's got it literally
Dilly dallying
straggle.
along the way.
Yeah, straggle is dilly dally. And also the stragglers are the ones that are left behind. The straggler. So it's sort of in the context of all those sorts of I don't know idioms. I don't know if those are idioms, but they're sayings or
Yes,
they're
even
phrases, I guess.
English is also my third language.
What are your first two?
Hindi, my mother tongue is actually Punjabi,
Oh,
and the official language or largely spoken regional language of India, that is Hindi.
in Parliament, or sorry, what is your politics called?
Westminster parliamentary system.
And what do they speak in there? Do they speak lots of different things, or do they only speak one language?
We have officially 21 regional languages in India, and they could speak in either and all of them.
And do they have lots of translators, or does everyone basically understand each other?
Yes, there are translators.
Oh, okay. But do most people understand each other when they speak?
Sort of.
Oh my word, that sounds problematic.
No? Okay, I would say around 75% of the time we understand each other, if
Do you
that
mean you
works.
understand 75% of the words in the sentences, or like it's a hit or miss? It's like either you understand, or like 25% of the time you don't at all.
25% of the time we find it difficult to understand, I would say.
Oh.
We could still understand, we could still discern what the other person is saying, but still we have to pay a very we have to super focus and pay attention to every minute detail of what the other person is saying.
Okay, so it's very, you really have to sort of hone in and concentrate and
Yes, super concentrate.
super concentrate. Okay.
But I
What's it
would
gonna?
say to the question you were asking about right of claim, uh, collegium actually, this is how. I mean, I would give you another. I'm drawing a similar analog. I'm not digressing, by the way. Drawing a similar analog in Supreme Court of the United States, there were four cases remaining before there were Christmas holidays or something. Judges had a meeting, the bench had a meeting, and they told everyone in the meeting that there are four cases pending. We would finish them off first of all, at least the trials and hearings, and then we would go for our holiday trips. This was the approach, I would say, positive and proactive approach of the Supreme Court of the United States judges. Now, what happened with in India? There are, I would say, 40 million cases pending. 40 million. It takes 20 years to arrive to a conclusion that a murder has happened or not, that a rape has happened or not, because the law works at from the hangover days of the British era, when they used to travel in buggies and whatnot. Still, internet is there, everything is being high tech, but still the mentality of the state is as such that they don't want to deliver speedy justice. At least in America, North America in general, including Canada, the decision is given whether it is in your favor or not. The decision is given and there is speedy justice.
Well, I mean, I feel like you're slightly undermining your own point because, I mean, you're basically saying that if you can do whatever you want according to natural law, and she'll only get enforcement of anything 20 years later. So there's a 20-year lag before the natural law will
Oh, no,
expire
no,
if a
no,
man tries to
no, no,
operate.
no, no, no. Here is the point. Here is the loophole.
Okay.
Women actually use the state to their advantage, and the state gives a damn about them, not the men. So, if the right of claim is of a woman, she would have her 15 minutes of fame. She would appear in different talk shows. She would appear in each and everything. She would be the pretty little starlet, the new darling of the mainstream media. And she would appear on every panel, whether she knows about it or not, regarding the subject matter, but she would appear everywhere. You would find her everywhere. But when a man does the same thing, he is memory hold. And that is the thing which is responsible, because a man is considered as a disposable commodity, like a used sanitary pad or sanitary napkin.
I mean, I still disagree with you because I still think that there are remedies that you are just, quite frankly, either ignorant of or ignoring. Because the right of claim is not like this magical wand that you wave in front of a judge. The right of claim works with other laws. It has to be in harmony with other laws, but I'm talking about the core common law, which is the law of contract. So all the way to get around all this shit is that you develop things like anti-nuptial contracts, which you can just say we're recovering it from the Commonwealth. We're importing it from the Commonwealth from South Africa. They have anti-nuptial contracts. We'll have some of that,
The
thanks.
When the judge is corrupt, when the judge wants to take a bribe, when the police staff, the police station, and the constables have a cut in it, when the entire system, including the social activists, are behind you wagging fingers at you, what would you do? You would cave into the pressure. You would yield. Otherwise, you would go to jail. Who wants to go to jail? Nobody wants to go to jail.
But I
I
still
mean,
think you're somewhat painting a devil's advocate of sort of the worst case scenario, not having
no,
hope
no, no,
in
no,
the
no,
integrity
no.
of other people.
I have the statistics to back it up.
No, but I mean,
Every
because
6 minutes in India, one man commits a suicide. It is just that we are so densely populated with mad population of 1.4 billion people that people cannot understand that.
so wait, 1.4
Every
billion.
6 minutes, a man and a boy commits a suicide in India.
Six. I thought
And
you said 60 minutes. Is it 60 minutes or 6 minutes?
6 minutes.
So that's 10 an hour, 240 a day, and then that's times 300. Let's say 64 or 65 a year. That is how much is that? What's 240 times 365? Sorry, do you have a
Two-
calculator up?
240 into 365. Just a second. Hold on. Let me open my calculator. 240 into 365. 87,600.
Okay, now in billions, in your country is the same as Britain, right? Is a less zero or is it an extra zero? Like 1.4 billion is how many 100 million?
I would say write 14 and then
Yeah.
add seven and then add six zeros.
No, but that's 1. Oh, that's 14. No, but that's only 14 million.
Then add seven zeros.
So it's 140 million. Is that
Oh,
that doesn't
billion,
sound
I
right?
think it has nine zeros or something.
No, you see, this is it's confusing because American billions are different to British billions. So that's why I asked, like, are you British or American in that?
Oh no, American.
Like, because there's 7 billion people on the planet, right?
Yes, and 1.4 billion are from India.
I guess
20%.
I don't even know what the 7 billion actually is. I don't know which billion is it American billion or British billion. I don't even know. I think the American billion has one less zero than the British billion. So do you? I guess that's the question: is do you have 1.4 Brit or even the world? Does the world have 7 billion British billions or American billions? I don't
I
know.
have no idea. I
Let
have
me.
no idea.
Can we not find it out? Sorry, I know this. I'm actually. I do want to know this. I've got such a small screen and so far away from me that I have to have this little magnifying program. Man, they just say the words. None of them have the digits in the numerals. Let me go in. I wrote numbers. Let me write in numerals. But they still just, it won't give it. Oh man, I just swore. Oh, it says that we have 7.8 billion people, but it still only doesn't. I can't find a fuck. So I don't know. I don't know what the settings that I put on this live stream. I don't know if this is wrong. I guess. Anyway, no one's going to watch it, and then later on, I'll just make it that it's not for kids. Um, anyway, sorry. I want to know the answer. Sorry, is this irrelevant to you? Shall we move on? I can look it up later. I guess this might, or can you find out?
We can move on, by the way. I mean, billion is billion. It could be American billion.
Well, maybe because I mean, there's supposedly like at least I think around 60 million people in my country. So if they're like 300 million people in America, and there's like 1.4 billion in India, and how much does China have? Do you have more than China?
1.4 billion.
Yeah. And how much does China have? Do you know?
1.4 billion,
Oh, you have the same.
pretty much.
It's 2.8. So does India and China combined have a population that is 3/7 of the world, or it's 2.8 over how much? Over 7.8. So it's 2.8. What's the fraction of 2.8 over 7.8? Do you know how to work that out? 7 points. No, no. You go 2.8 divided by 7.8 equals 0.35. So that's 36% of the world's population. There's over a third. Two countries, over a third of the world's population. Doesn't I've always heard these stories that like India has too many people. What is your view on overpopulation in India? Is it not? Is it cramped there? Does it look cramped where you are?
Uh, First of all, I would like to ask all these people as to what overpopulation actually means.
Well, I was told by a friend of mine who is Indian, although she spent half of her time in America, I guess, studying. And she told me that like the poverty in India, like she told me not to go to India. That's what she told. She said, "Don't be a tourist and go to India." She just said, "Don't go. It's like it will break your heart. You won't like it. It's like you won't be able to tolerate the condition that the people are living in and the kind of what I guess like the bad things that happen there or something like that." So like that's the kind of impression that I get, like that it's just that it's a bit crazy or it looks strange or something like that.
Could be, but I don't think that this is because of overpopulation or something. Poverty is not because of overpopulation.
I mean, I wonder though if this might be a psychological framing thing because maybe for some people it's just like the intellectual background, but for other people it might sort of be more like a signal to them about in because like if you're in a cramped space, I do feel that like that can create some kind of sort of idea about resource scarcity. Like that you have to outcompete. Like that men might be sort of more. What's the word? I'm making almost a biological argument here. If you'll excuse me to indulge this speculation. What do you think about that? And how densely populated is it? Like sort of per in some cities or something like that.
Very densely populated. I mean, it is needless to define that India is densely populated. What I'm trying to say is actually overpopulation also sharpens your skill set, whether it is academia, whether you are being a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a
Because
police
there's more competition.
personnel.
I'm sorry
Pardon?
for talking. I'm sorry for talking over you. I just wanted to add because there's more competition. Is was my Does that make sense? Is that what you think?
Yes, yes. There should be competition, and there should be a very, you know, dense competition. I would say very ruthless competition needs to be there.
But do you know about like what happens in markets and things like that? Like, I mean, I just mean from a financial top-down theoretic perspective. I mean, do you have an economic background and stuff? or at least in theory of sort of like culture and sociology and economics. Well, I mean, what is your
Regarding what?
model? Well, because I mean, you've just made some claims, about like the virtue of having dense, a kind of a dense population, and I'm just, from a psychological perspective, but also from what I know about what happens in markets, is that because not every class in society operates sort of in the same echelon of how they interact with the markets. Like if you're lower down, like dense population means more competition, means sharpening your edge, sharpening your skill, and being good at what you do. But at the higher level, it creates, like, because that most companies are either conglomerates or they're cartels. Like they're pretty much only two types of things that you get, or three. You get, but the third is very rare. You get conglomerates, cartels, and consortiums. That's pretty. If business is made up of those three things from the top down, like, I mean, that's how I see it. So like that's
Consortiums are the way, but why is it a fact that consortiums are considered as any different from the people amongst whom they run their business? Consortium actually means a group of companies. That's it.
no. I mean,
Nothing more, nothing less.
I
Yeah, they
or
try all types of stuff with you, but that's it.
I must. I think I understand what you're saying. And I have problems with consortiums. I think consortiums are one of the most problematic ones because they seem on paper like they would be the peace loving sort of thing that you just you decentralize everything, but you force a consensus because that's the problem with consortiums. It's like rule by committee. You get lowest common denominator characteristics rising to be representative of the common will, of the common sentiment. So they're ruled by sentiment. I mean, in my view, the most stable form of responsible, sort of business ownership and business, sort of functioning or whatever, are conglomerates. Like naturally, conglomerates are the ones that can take the most responsibility and treats their workers the best, and also treat the environment the best because they're stable enough to be able to give a damn about these things. But if you always go for the cheapest priced and the best quality, and you don't care about the hidden hand of the market, the home advantage, that you prefer the locally produced, like which you pay a premium for, but then you get other benefits. You get the benefits of promoting self circulation, and you also get the benefits of that you can maybe get the thing repaired, that your warranty, or that there's goodwill there, because if there's an outcry in your local, if you have a foreign market, in some sense you just have to game them, but if you have a local market, you have to be beholden to them, and that's the hidden hand, sort of, what's his name, Smith, the Smith guy, um, you must know his name, the famous philosopher, was he
Adam
British?
Smith.
Yes, Adam Smith. So, like, I believe that when Adam Smith was promoting capitalism, he was, although he might not have said it explicitly, but like, and cartels are a mixed bag. You don't know what's happening with cartels. You hope. You can hope and you can pray, but you might be what's for dinner. Like you might be what's, because they can game systems. They can muscle out the competition. They can stop people from rising up. So, and usually cartels will end up controlling consortiums. If you have a consortium, it's just a mask for a cartel or a set of cartels. And there's, it's, maybe you have a good one, maybe you have a bad one, maybe there's no such thing. Like it's just, who knows? Sorry, I'm babbling a bit, but and I feel that like India has. I mean, I say this from the outside, but I mean, does no one care for the common man in the street? if they're just, they must fight each other like dogs, and the strong will survive, and then they will serve their purpose. Because I mean, that's, in my view, that's a bit demeaning to give as a signal to your local population, or like you not care for your people, sort of thing, that they must be good to attract outsiders or something, or like our genes must take over the world. Are we like a kind of, sorry, I'm saying all these racist prejudice things maybe that some people might. But I wonder, because
My thing
this is the
is,
problem, is that you never know what it's like in your own backyard because you're used to it. You grew up with it, and it was part of your intellectual, socialization. You were enculturated to this, and you saw the virtue of it. But did you ever think of the dark side? But I mean, you can only think of the dark side when you've got an alternative to contrast it with. So you've been to Canada. What did you think on this point? Sorry, can you think about this at the? Sorry, I'm really directing you here. Excuse me if you want to talk about something else.
no, fine, fine.
Any thoughts? Or we don't have.
No, fine. I mean, whatever you want to ask.
Well, what are your thoughts on the contrast between Canada and
Contrast
India?
of,
On
I would say nothing, because I came from one hellhole to another hellhole. That is how I see it, and that has been my stance uh, since the day I landed, and it has been 7 years now. Yeah.
so you were in Canada for 7 years, or you still there?
Yes.
But surely it's different. I mean, obviously, so feminism is the same bad on both sides, is it?
Yes. It is bad on both the sides.
So all that being equal, what about the other stuff? I mean, surely I mean, like what? I mean, you're going back for your family, which is certainly admirable. But like, let's just say that you were on. Let's just say, I'm sorry. Can we make a horrible thought experiment? God forbid that your parents pass
Sure,
away
sure, sure,
in an
sure.
accident. Let's just as a pure thought experiment. You don't have any family ties. Which side of the pond do you side with? Or would you see? Uh, I mean, I guess it's sort of, can you see yourself? Can you teach a man to fish, and can you find out from the locals how to turn one of these machines into a princess? Like, can you be Prince Charming and kiss her, and turn her from a frog into a it's like the reverse of the Disney princess movies.
Princess Charming?
Yeah. Or
No. The succinct reply is no, because they have become habitual of the state. The state has taken the dominant role, not a man's position. A man is seen as a convenient, expedient
okay.
commodity, a disposable commodity. That is why
Okay.
I
So
use the example of sanitary pads.
I mean, that's a bit of a vindictive metaphor, but anyway, let's just talk about the state. Can't you outwit the state? Can't you can't you work around the state? Can't you operate, sort of trying to ignore the state and sort of just avoid it?
Avoiding the state means actually when you are really going to actually do some sort of course correction. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yes,
And
yes, that's
for
true.
that, you have to create a conducive environment for it to actually happen. And since that is not the case with any state anymore, I say to hell with the states. And it is one hell of a Herculean effort, I would say.
I mean, I guess we obviously have different knowledge bases and skill sets because I always just think as long as I'm operating within the law and I know that I'm fine, then I can. I mean, I still have to follow the natural law because, in some sense, like how I conceive of the natural law is that I can't just go around projecting things onto people. If they have certain expectations, I have to manage them as best I can. I mean, in the context of where I'm going and what I'm driving towards, so it's almost like they want something, I want something, and if they want something different that excludes what I want, I should just avoid them. I should just sort of walk on by. So I'm just walking around the mines. Like I'm just bobbing and weaving. So I'm doing tai chi. Like when I'm going to the mall and I'm talking to these people, and then like I mean, I guess it might be confusing because you're never invited to give explanation. You're only invited to give answers, and you're not allowed to give context because then you're raping their sensibility. So I mean, this has been conditioned in me. That I don't. I'm either direct or I'm nondescript, and I can only be direct if I'm invited. And they never ask me direct questions, so I can't give direct answers and be direct. So I just be nondescript, and then they think that I'm maybe I don't know what they think about me because they never tell me whatever. But you know, so nothing happens. It's asexual. There's no sensuality. There's no bohemian poetry. There's no auto poetic because to be poetic you have to rely on gender. And as soon as you say anything gendered, they will wince and moan and
Let me guess, all hell breaks loose.
well, I mean, it's interesting because I feel like, I mean, maybe she thought that I was a social justice warrior because of how polite I was being and how nondescript I was and how I apologized for being direct because I could tell that she was, like one of these feminazis. So, like, I had no alternative or whatever. And I mean, I don't know what she was interested in. But I mean, she seemed to be as friendly as she could be. But what you just said, it seems like she was following that rule book. She was following that code. Um, that she has to take the lead. She has to take the dominant position. And maybe it's a game. Maybe it's like it's a code, and they don't even believe it themselves, but they have to follow the code. And I've got my own code. I mean, my code is the way of the samurai. That's my solution. Which is actually no. I mean, I don't know what the code of the samurai is. I'm just projecting this on to the Japanese from my childhood. But that's what it means to me. So like I have to always do the right thing for everyone.
Well, samurais have to do something called harakiri as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
if they
they
if they if they, if they fail their duty.
No, when they fail their duty, or when the emperor tells them, the shogun tells them, orders them, issues a decree or an edict to conduct a harakiri for them, they actually have to cut open their own intestines with their own sword. Many of the
Yeah,
Japanese soldiers did that after and before Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings as well. So that is the Japanese samurai code which they live by, and that
well,
is pretty much evident
I
within
just
the.
want to say that like that's what it looks like from the outside, but we don't really know because maybe when you are commanded to perform harikiri, then what you do is you get like a pig's intestines and things like that, and you put it on the inside of your jacket, and you do like a bit of performance art, and then you look like you die, and then you lie there dead in dead man's pose, and then they carry you off, and then they throw you on the heap, and you pretend to be dead because you're so good at doing that, and then after they leave your body because you've been you try to regain your honor, and then they leave you dead, then you get up and then you become a ninja because now you've been promoted to the secret service because now you couldn't serve the emperor in life. Now you must serve him. Uh,
In your
you must
death.
serve out your dishonor.
Could be the case. I'm not disputing the fact.
Because the samurais, they wear a mask. I mean, if you ever watched Naruto, you know that the Anbu are the secret police of. Sorry, am I talking gibberish to you? Do you know
No, no,
Naruto?
no. I know. I've watched
Yeah.
Naruto as well.
Yeah. So if you're in Anbu, then when you
Black
die, your
Ops.
body disappears. Your body like evaporates, so that you there's no
Yes.
intelligence. Yeah, yeah. So you see, like the Anbu are like the ninja, and even the Anbu have they have a deep state. I don't know if you how far you
Yes, I
watch.
know. I know. I know. Shishui used to be the head of it.
Yeah, and then it was passed on to what's his name.
Danzo?
Yeah, Danzo, which was really out of his league because he was so out of his league. He had to steal all the Uchiha eyes because like because Shizui was Shisui was Uchiha, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, usually the deep state would be controlled by the Uchiha. But anyway,
I mean, that is an occupational hazard, by the way.
when there's a radical realignment.
Yes. Still happening, by the way.
But I do, I talked to this American guy who was obviously also like a closet SJW. The young people, even he said he was 24 years old, and how he was talking to me, I could tell that he was an SJW. He was a closet SJW. He knows how to play their game. He fucks them like crazy. He doesn't have a girlfriend, but he just plows them essentially because he knows how to play the game. He just goes in there and he does his little dance and he lets them take the lead, and then it's like he's like the child and they're like the lesbian big mama, and he's the little, and they're so it's like it's this weird kind of I don't know. I think it's fucked up to do that because I mean he's basically developing this uh, he's like their hidden agent, So I mean, this is how the Nazis took over: is that the women radicalized the men. I mean, it's exactly the same thing because they
Yeah.
forced the men to play the game.
So my position is bringing back the patriarchy would end all of this circus that is happening around you.
I think that the solution is up, not down. I think the solution is that we need better institutions. We need more libertarianism, and we need freedom of contracts. And you just contract your way through the gutter. Because imagine, I mean, didn't you watch the South? Did you watch South Park?
No.
Oh man, there's so much in South Park that like gives you primers as to like how to bob and weave and duck under these people. I mean, I haven't been successful because like I'm a bit crazy in my own head. And actually, wow, I wonder if that's why these women gave me the time of day. Like, oh fuck. I think what I did when I got kicked out of university was like so famous in the SJW underground that they like actually sent celebrities to like go and flirt with me to try to like confound me. Fuck, that's fucked up. If that's what happens, I mean, if this is part of my strange life, it's like I was in the Cape Town nightlife. I never used to go to the nightlife, and then suddenly someone through the grapevine says, like, "Why don't you go out? Like, you're of this age. Why don't you go out?" And I'm like, "I don't want to waste money." And they're like, no, but that's how you meet people. And I'm like, I don't have any money and I don't drive. And because I was like, I mean, I drove very late. I started driving, I think 24, 25 years old is only when I got my car. So I'm, like a late bloomer in everything. Um, Man, the one time I was lucky, my cousin, I have a male cousin in America who's quite well off. And when I was in high school, I think I must have been like 15 years old or 14 years old. He came to visit. This is a fucked up story. And I was friends with this guy who was like 2 years younger than me, but we were very good friends because we both had the same passions and interests, and we used to play online games together. We used to play Diablo 2, and we used to love talking about, sort of like different builds and things like that, and theory crafting, and, we'd get into a lot of arguments and would always be very heated. So it was like quite a back and forth sort of thing, but it was always a bit weird because he was like younger than me. So, like I was always sort of ahead of him. And so, like sometimes, we had to have distance so that he could, navigate things because, I mean, I have no idea what his schooling was like because we had completely separate schooling environments. So like, obviously there's a lot of social dynamics that goes around high schools. It's like a very stressful time to grow up and be surrounded by all this, weird shit. But what did, so like when I was 15, maybe I was 15 or no, I think I was, and my friend was like 13 and a half, I guess, but he was precocious or physically so. He was older than he developed probably faster than, I mean, I'm bigger than him, but he developed faster, I would say, or he developed his sociability faster. So he was very keen to go out. He was like, let's go out, let's go out. And then my cousin took us out, but my cousin is a bit strange. He's a very special kind of guy. He's like he's dyslexic, so he's always been behind. Like he's always been behind his peers and felt left out. But he's very socially smart. He's very creative. He's a musician. He's actually quite a famous musician, and he's the son of a famous musician in America, and he's like a Hare Krishna as well. So he plays these interesting games. It's so I told my friend all this stuff, and my friend must have known my cousin, or my cousin contacted him, or some crazy stuff like that. And suddenly my cousin rocks up, and I don't know that he's my cousin, and he says that he's my friend's cousin, and I haven't seen it. I saw him once when I was 10 years old, and he looks completely different. So I'm not sure who this guy is, and I'm dazzled and confused. And he says, "Oh no, I'm Reese's cousin." Like, and he's like, don't you have a girlfriend? And I'm like, no, how can I get a girlfriend at school? Like, like I have friends that are girls, but like, I'm not gonna. He's gonna fuck with the social. I had a very tiny class. I had 10 people, and like 10 people were in my class in high school, and like I think like four. I can't even remember the numbers. I think like 4 of them were girls and 6 of them were boys, something like that. It was almost even. So it was tough because, and then this new kid came called Adam, and he was like really old for his age. Like he was completely developed. Like he like had full facial hair and stuff like that. He had like definition. He did all this hip hop break dancing stuff. He was always like, I don't know if he was the tallest, but he was like he was very hairy. Or anyway, so it was all these sort of dynamics. I can't remember if that happened already or not. I think Adam hadn't come yet, but there was like Alex was in my class, and Alex was a short guy, and he was like, he was just a decent bloke, and like I didn't want to unsettle anything, so I didn't also want, like, what can you do with a girlfriend in your own class? Like, you maybe try, like, why are you practicing having a wife in high school? Like, it's sort of, are you playing house? Like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, so I would rather just like get to know a woman and be friends with them than like actually, try to fool her. I mean, like, if your friend wants to sexually explore things with you, that's one thing. But if you want to like play out this whole like pretend relationship that is shallow as fuck, like you are, maybe for other people that's decent or in their mentality, but I think they're fucking over their IQ. I think they're sort of that they're going in a tail dive, that their responsibility is, I don't know, that they are looking down for themselves or something like that. Sorry, I'm saying a lot of shit. But anyway, so my cousin says to me, let's go out. And I was like, okay. And then but I didn't know he was my cousin, or I was dazzled. It was this weird sort of mystery. And he's like, oh, I've got an apartment to see my cousin here. So he's like talking double speak to me. This is, I guess, what dyslexic people do, and they think it's cool. And then I tried to keep him at a certain proper distance because I really believed what he said. I believed that he was my friend's cousin and he was being very friendly to me. And I thought, you're being more friendly to me than you are to your own cousin. And so I felt bad that my friend Reese was being excluded. And so anyway, so he like abducts us a bit, and we go out, and I said, why? What's the before we went out? I said, what's the point of us going out? Like, what the fuck is the point? Again, this is what I said. It's like, I cannot have sex with a woman because I don't drive a car. Like, if I had a girlfriend, like, what would be the point? Like, we would never be able to do anything privately. Like, we always have supervision around. So, like, what is the point? And so he said, okay, well, that's why you go out. And I'm like, well, I can't go out. I don't have a car. So that's why I don't have a girlfriend. Like, there's no point in it. And so anyway, so he convinces me, let's go out. And because he promises me, he says, if you get a girl that wants to go home with you, we can take her home to my apartment. And I said, well, how many beds are there in your apartment? Like, how many rooms are in your apartment? Like, will you literally sleep on the couch while I have sex in your, yeah. And so he makes the rule. He said, okay, if anyone can bring a girl back, they get the bed, and everybody else, gets the couch or whatever. Like, they get to be the big man in the bedroom. And I did. I pulled this woman who said that she was 18. I mean, technically, I believe I was underage because in my law, so technically she was breaking the law, and I think I might have admitted that to her. And how I picked her up, oh my word, that was atrocious what I said to her. I mean, like, I was so nondescript. I just walked up to her and I was like, because she looked a bit bashful and she looked a bit like lonely, and it looked like that she was like, it didn't look like that she was looking at me, but I couldn't tell. Maybe I felt something. I don't know. Like that. I felt that her attention or her gaze was on me. I walked up to her and I said, uh, uh, the first thing I did was I apologized. I said, I'm sorry for coming up to you. Is it okay? I don't know where to begin. Because like I don't really talk to girls. So I was very sort of flustered and all this kind of stuff. And then I just got her to give me permission at every step, and then until she encouraged me. And then when she encouraged me, then I could start being more direct. And then I only got more direct, and then I said, can I really be blunt about, and she said, and she was annoyed with me. She was like, just ask me, because she obviously, like, I don't know, just wanted me to get to the question. So then I just made her an indecent proposal, and then I apologized afterwards because she looked embarrassed. But I couldn't. I thought that, I can't tell if you're really. I was like, I can't tell if if you're really embarrassed, or I don't think I actually said that. I think I thought that while I said something else, and I was being more nondescript, and then she just looked shocked, and I said, look, okay, I can see that you look shocked. I'm very sorry, like, and I walked away, and I literally and I turned, like, figuratively speaking, I turned my back on her. And then what happened was, she worked up the courage to sort of approach me, essentially, is roughly what happened. But obviously, you can't describe all these things. But I think that that's the formula. I think that that's sort of the formula to go. And I know that that's a bohemian rhapsody, if there ever was one, but it has to be special and peculiar and auspicious, I guess. That's what women crave, perhaps. The magic. Don't you believe in magic? Maybe you need
Yes.
to, like, learn a magic trick or something. Like, or flip a coin, or have a gimmick. Like, that's what girls like now. Uh, or talk in riddles. I don't know. I don't know. You have to sneak in your auto poeticism. I don't know. Is this just autism? I mean, they're making you that you have to be an autist to pull nowadays.
Yes, they are
You have.
considered as sapiosexual.
Sorry, she was sapiosexual. You said.
I am saying autistic people are considered as sapiosexual.
Ah. Well, that's interesting because my indecent proposal to her was actually all about physicality. Like I said, I think this would be interesting, is what I said. I said this dynamic between us, like I'm just interested in how it would go. I'm being a bit indirect in relaying it to you because I it's a bit sexually explicit. So like, but I was sexually explicit in not a lewd way. Like I wasn't lewd at all. I literally just framed it as like a scientific question, like and that I was actually genuinely interested in. And then when she actually tapped me on the shoulder, she walked up to me and she tapped me on the shoulder at some point after skulking around, and I was kind of actually trying to get away from her because I was like, "Fuck, is she trying to like make an accusation? Is she going to call me out? Is she going?" And then she was like, "Why?" She sent one of her friends after me, and she was like, "Why are you avoiding her?" And I'm like, "Oh no, like I overstepped my bounds," and she was very emotional and shocked. And so I just I don't want to get into any trouble. And then I think I said to a friend like I'm actually underage or something like that. And this was maybe just a bad idea, or I can't remember. I don't think I went that far. I think with the friend, I was more I manipulated some of my language because I didn't know the friend, and the friend was just some go between or something like that. So I don't know even what her friend went and told her back, but then eventually she approached me and she said, "Why are you avoiding me?" And I said, "But I told your friend exactly why." Um, so she didn't either believe her friend or her friend didn't tell her the truth. So I said, "Well, what did your friend tell you? Didn't she tell you the truth?" But I mean, I told your friend exactly why, and then we had this long argument, and she just got tired over it. Well, it wasn't an argument, but it was kind of like an argumentative discussion. So I corrected her and I said, "So actually, when you were asking me why are you avoiding me, you didn't mean why are you avoiding me. You meant something else. You just wanted to say something as an excuse." So I said, like, sorry, like I'm very direct. So when you're non-direct, it just doesn't make any sense to me. So like that tired her out, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I've tired you out now. So I guess the magic's gone. So all the magic was sort of wiped away, and then so I said, oh, so do you want to do it or something like that? And then she said, okay, but could we kiss first? Or she said, oh, or maybe, or something like that, which was also part of my interrogation of her. So she allowed me to interrogate her. Sorry, I mean, this is very long and
We are a generation of men raised by women. I don't think another woman is the answer that we need. Tyler Durden, Fight Club.
but the problem with Tyler Durden is that he was just a figment of the other guy's imagination. He was an avatar. He was a tag. He was a gamer tag. It was the imagination of himself in the background. Because in the movie when it goes all the way back and it reframes all the scenes, when it was like when he looks at the dildo in her room, in her bedroom, and then she says, "Don't worry, it's not a threat to you." And then he thought he saw Tyler Durden, that she said it to Tyler Durden, but she was actually saying it to him. It was him all along. You remember the twist in the movie?
Oh, yeah, sure. But what did Tyler Durden teach him?
That's an interesting question. I don't remember how it ended again. I mean, wasn't it? There was Bob with the big tits,
Bitch
and
tits.
yeah, and it was I mean, I guess it was something about male camaraderie, wasn't it? It was something because I remember
Oh
when
yeah,
like
sure, sure.
when he's being killed by his own squad, and they're like, "It's very brave of you to do this, sir." You know, like when he's in the police and he's confessing to the police, and then both of the policemen get up, and then they like start like beating him to death, like police brutality. But he did it to himself because it was like it was that was the code. That was the code of the brotherhood was that if you try to go to the police, so who are the police? I can't think of how the metaphor transposes from Fight Club to modern day. Maybe the better metaphor is the Matrix, because I always
Could be.
thought that Agent Smith is third wave feminism. Is Agent Smith?
Sure.
Did you get that out of it?
And
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
MGTOW is the answer for that.
So you think that like that Zion is MGTOW
No, I'm saying Neo is MGTOW.
because he dies at the end of the movie,
No, because he kills Smith in the movie
but
Matrix
he also died.
Revolutions.
But he also
Yeah,
died.
so what? So what? We all die.
Yeah, so you kill Agent Smith, you kill for third way feminism, and then you kill Agent Smith and you also die, and then you have to be reincarnated by the machine later on, which is what happens in the fourth movie, which you haven't seen yet.
Yes,
And then you have to rescue your woman from the Matrix. You have to meet her at her place of work or something, or you have to, I don't know, you have to be introduced, or you have to be in a position, so you find her in the secrets, and then you find her later on in the real. So you find her and you lose her in the secrets, in the privates, in the secretarial way in which you have to administer your life. That she's looking for your style of administration. Are you capable of? I must say, this is not the end of the story. I mean, this what happened between this woman and me. Well, I just called her. Oh, that was a Freudian slip, or some kind of slip. That was fucked up. So, like, I had sex with her, and then later on, she entered the workforce. She got married. She had a kid, and then I like met her in real life, and she was like I don't want to reveal people's identities, um, but she was I mean I don't know how to think of an analogy that makes it cryptic. But anyway, let me just say that I met her. She's a professional. She has a proper degree and a title, and I met her in her work, in her line of work. It just came across her, and then what happened was one time I was at Ratanga Junction, which is a theme park that has roller coasters and stuff like that. And this kid out of nowhere walks around with this guy, who's obviously his father, I imagine, and punches me in the gut as hard. This little kid must have been like, I don't know, maybe 4, 5, 6 years old, punches me in the gut as fucking hard as he possibly can. Uh, which winded me, I think, or I can't remember. It didn't. I mean, it hurt, but it wasn't. And I just thought, like, fuck, did I deserve that? Is that her wife? Is was that guy that woman's wife, and is that their kid? And then, like, they've had to sit with that in their relationship. That like because like my cousin even was curious because like I I'm I don't if I get into the sex talk. I mean, if I get into talking about sex, I mean it's a bit crazy, but like, I mean, that was the first time I had sex as an adult, if I can put it like that. Um,
Okay. So, do you work out? Just asking.
I do recently. I mean, I've worked out from 21 and from 20 and older, maybe from nine after I think a year after high school. uh, my mother encouraged me to get a personal trainer, and I trained in his garage. And he was Bulgarian, like he sounded just like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Bulgarian personal trainers know what they're doing, like, and he, uh, I was so I've never been as strong ever uh, than that. Like I still can't bench press as much as I could while he was training me. Um, but he said that I could. He said I could be in the Olympics. Like his logbook has me lifting weights that's like is like not possible, supposedly, like for that age bracket. Obviously now it's all lost essentially. But anyway, sorry. I mean, I've got excellent genetics for strength, because like it's all about the thickness of your wrist. Supposedly, it's anyway. Sorry. Did that answer your question? Sorry, maybe I elaborated too much and I
No,
boasted.
it is better. I
Uh,
mean, you should start regenerate your uh, teenage or your childhood
hmm.
so that you could, work out a little bit more.
I mean, I was a fat kid when I had sex with this woman. I mean, like I was fat, like I was overweight. Um, which is what made it super awkward to me doing. I mean, that's why I was apologizing so much and being so nondescript. Well, I wonder if that imprinted on me, because that's I've I've never. So maybe I was taken out too young. Like maybe if I was older, I don't know. But I mean, the whole incident was. I mean, I'm giving all this, sort of personal history. It's maybe a bit, what's the word, profane. Um, I, can I ask your situation? Like, how were you initiated into the brotherhood, if I can put it like that?
There is no brotherhood in MGTOW philosophy.
No, no, no. I'm talking about your sexualization. I'm talking about like how did you experience, like is it just pornography? Like what? I mean, obviously I'd experienced pornography before, but like how have you interacted with a woman? I mean, have you not had any opportunity? Have you not had any experience?
I have experience. It is just that I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, okay. But can't you imagine extrapolating that experience into I must say this. I mean, look, either way, I think we're in the same boat, because I'm never going to be young and strapping again. I mean, I am fasting at the moment, although I'm liquid fasting. I'm having liquids, salt water, and I made a concoction that had some protein in it. I couldn't believe how good it was. I've got this wonderful blender, and I'm using Energade concentrates, which has sugar and electrolytes in it, and I only made it with 3 eggs, and I was like, wow, is this going to become like a foam meringue? Because it turned green, because the Energade was blue and the eggs obviously have some yellow in it, and it came out green, and it tasted like cream soda. I couldn't fucking believe it. It actually tasted like cream soda. It tasted really good.
My thing is that you could eat anything unless and until you work out.
Sorry, are you suggesting that I shouldn't eat anything?
I am saying you could eat anything.
Oh,
Could eat
okay.
anything unless and until you are working out. It is absolutely fine.
Oh.
People should care more about lifting rather than eating or dieting.
You see, that is, well, hmm, you think so?
Yes.
Is that? Do you know a lot about biology? I don't know that much about biology. Like, why do you say that?
Uh, I mean, because you are habitual to, it is fun. Workout is fun. You get all these, feel good chemicals, endorphins. So
No,
that is
but you
how
see,
it is.
the problem is I already have a lot of muscle. Like, I mean, I'm not as where I was, but I mean, I can still bench press now. Like, I think the highest that I did was 90 kilograms, for like maybe like 3, 4 reps or something like that. Um, it's a lot more if I go just a little bit lower, and then but the problem is that like it's not going to help because I have so much fat that it's not going to show up. So it's like I really and I need to lose fat. Like my I'm going to a physiotherapist tomorrow. Yeah, it's Monday. So I sleep twice a day, so I have to make sure what day it is because I get slightly disorientated. I've got that double sleep method that they did in the Middle Ages that like really makes you more intellectual. Um, because anyway, what I did was my ankle is bunged up because like my friend doesn't believe me. My friend who's like way shorter than me, I'm like my ankle hurts, and he's like uh, you should roll it around, like, and I'm like, man, I don't think you realize like we have the same size ankles pretty much, but I weigh three times the weight that you do. Like the problem is the weight. It's not the ankle. It's not that I didn't stretch. It's the weight. I imagine. Well, that's what I feel. But anyway, I'll see what the physio says tomorrow. I was very surprised that I got a because you see, I did yoga. I can do like all the yoga poses, um, but obviously that's actually the problem is that my joints are too flexible, and so I can actually. Uh, I was big. I was huge into yoga. I had lots of yoga teachers and stuff. Some very good ones, in fact.
I think
Uh,
you need to have much more cardio workouts.
Yeah, you see, that's my failing because I am lazy as fuck. I hate cardio. It's mind numbing to me. Like I
So cardio could be not only on treadmill, but in the ground, in the park. It could be anywhere.
I'd have to do it with my hands because my ankle is. I've had this ankle problem for 4 months because I just don't have the budget to go to a physiotherapist. I mean, it's just. But I tried to fix it myself and it did get a bit better, but it's still not it's actually worrying me at some angles, but it has gotten better very very slowly. But this woman, she's got ultrasounds and I think she does dry needling. So I can't wait because I've also got this other issue. I've got this tension behind my thigh over here, and that it just feels off. It when I'm sort of moving. So I think that she'll be able to fix it with an ultrasound or shockwave or something like that. I mean, I hope she has all of those sorts of options because that's the only thing I can't get a hold of. Otherwise, I would have been able to fix it myself. But like, I mean, I've got these massages that like, uh, I mean, anyway, I mean, I've tried to like I'm a bit of a scientist in terms of health. Like I'm always experimenting with like what is I mean, the secretary that works at my home business, she's not so well right now, and I'm giving her all the advice that I know of and getting her to cross reference it with the doctor, which is also very interesting because the medical industry is who when you go to public medicine. But I mean, I gave her lots of suggestions, but she also just can't really afford to try things. But so anyway, sorry, I'm blathering. Is this distracting? I'm doing yoga and talking.
No, it is fine. At least we are having a conversation.
What are you up to? Why didn't you switch on your camera? You're always so non indirect. What is it that you don't want to show your face? Are you afraid of reprisals when you go back home or something, or in Canada?
More so in Canada, but I'm not interested in showing my face
Why?
because I don't want to. It is on my own discretion, isn't it?
Are you an SJW? Because I mean, that's what
Uh,
they do.
Certainly not.
Well, I mean, you seem to have your own peculiar conditions and restrictions that you don't substantiate and that you don't make available for inspection. I mean, isn't that what they do?
Could be, but rules are made to be broken. I have shown my face sometimes in Good Mother's channel. Is it or is it not?
That is true. You did show me your face. So I mean, it's so we all have our own codes. So I said
Yes.
that I had the code of the samurai earlier, and I even told you what the code was. But like, I wonder if maybe that's the way in the 21st or the 20 or whatever century we're in. Do I ask her? Could you please explain to me your code, madame? Or no, obviously you can't say madame. Can I please have your code? Like and then she'll be like, "What is a code?" And I'll be like, uh, the way you live, I guess. Like maybe that's the way around it. You say, please tell me your code so I can follow your rules, and or please get like I was going to ask you earlier. Please send me a copy of the Indian Constitution so that I can study it and work out in conjunction with what I know about the common law and what I know about how the common law relates to the Commonwealth. If I can find a way in which that you can have a stable law of contracts that you can operate interpersonally and that you could use arbitration because you can lock people into arbitration. You can say, we don't have to use the public courts. You can say, according to this contract, this dispute is not to be reviewed by a court. It cannot. It goes this other way. It goes to the arbitrators. So maybe you just need to have, maybe the patriarchy, as you see it, needs to be uh, an institution that's a private institution, not a public one. That's not a state institution.
Yes. And the state institutions are,
And then you just have to find a woman that'll sign the contract. You sign on the dotted line, ma'am.
uh,
That's the permission slip.
yes, but it doesn't happen actually because they have the state's backing. They could call the police on you every time. They could call the paramilitary on you anytime. And that is the case. Even in the remotest of areas, the police response time is within 3 minutes.
Oh, so this is actually like a secret takeover. Like they are like secret Nazis, and they're just gonna and they're gonna kill everyone that doesn't agree with them. Is that the?
Could be, but this is not a group of some Nazis or something. These are our own people.
Uh,
These are our own people who actually want to use the state to their advantage for furthering their agenda of Marxist philosophies and Marxist policies of equality of outcome and yada yada yada.
so quickly, we need to work out the alternative to the state that can actually protect itself from the state.
Yes, and there could be a solution for that, but for that to happen as a happenstance, I think the state has to go down.
I mean, eventually, yes, but I mean, why does it have to be violence? Maybe it could just be like you
Uh,
just have to flex. No, no, like if you have natural authority, then all you have to do is flex that natural authority, and I mean that as a metaphor. So the natural
your
authority would be
your authority would be curbed by other people who do not actually resonate with your values.
well, unless you had international backing from a network, maybe.
And that is the nature of every intergovernmental, international, interstate relations. Is it or is it not? They all have to abide by the United Nations Charter.
Oh no, no, I didn't mean that. I meant like power. Like that you either have to be backed by the American government or
Yes, the West in general, because the West in general is the one who actually is the backseat driver regarding the cultural changes within any society.
Yeah.
whether it is LGBT, whether it is feminism, whether it is each and everything. And that is what is happening right now
I mean, I've
in the
always thought that it was Russia.
in the current. Just a second, hang on. Uh, I didn't know for a fact that in Russia they had something called a Father's Commission, because they celebrate, of course, because of Orthodox Christianity, uh, they women actually in the Second World War, just a point of information, 80% of the casualties were taken by the Red Army.
Yeah.
So they actually, you know, have a cultural habit of women presenting bouquets of flowers or some gifts to Russian men for celebrating their protection and provision during the Second World War, when 80% of the Russian 80% of the Second World War casualties were taken by men who marched from that Moscow Square straight into the battle. So that is how I see it, because wherever there is incentivization of masculinity, people would gravitate towards it, men would gravitate towards it as well. It doesn't matter whether it is superficial or genuine in nature, people would gravitate towards it. So, I mean, if the state is talking about celebrating International Women's Day, they are going to do that. And if the state is not going to celebrate International Men's Day and is going to ridicule it by saying it is an International Toilet Day because both happen on the same day, then I think there is some sort of pent up, built up anguish that would lead to a boiling point, and then there would be a cathartic experience, civilizational wise. You cannot solve it without violence. That is a given.
I don't know. I mean, I think I believe in live and let live. I mean, just continue to like amplify the culture war. You don't have to make it violent. I mean, prosecute it until it's fully uh, the end game is you still have to follow the basic tenets, you know. Like, I mean, or so I mean, is the idea that you are afraid that when they have full power, or they when they already have full power, you've heard stories that they are operating a Gestapo state, that they are using secret police to essentially take people out. So is that your fear that you're just going to be carried away in the middle of the night with a hood, thrown over your head or something? Is that so? It's safe for you to be in a foreign country because then at least they can't do that to you in Canada because of the color of your skin. Would be you're protected. Like you're an endangered species in your own country, but you're protected in a foreign country.
Sorry, I had gone for attending the nature's call.
Oh, you should have told me.
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
you didn't hear what I just said. Could you look on the YouTube channel? I'll just wait in silence. Can you fill yourself in on what was left behind?
Just a
Or
second.
should I try to repeat it? My memory is very. I'm getting a bit overtired myself, so it's close
Yeah.
to my bedtime. But
If you could repeat it.
okay, I just have to try to think what I said. I basically said I believe in live and let live, and that like can't we just continue to prosecute the culture war? And then I said, or are you really afraid that they are going to take you away in a in a brown bag and put a hood over your head and then sort of take you through some whole rigmarole and that you're going to land up in a mass grave? Like is that like and then I said, but then aren't you in the correct place? Because in your home country, you're an endangered species, but in a foreign country, you're protected. Because in a foreign country, the color of your skin means that you have a kind of an extra layer of protection. Or do you think that like when they reach, I mean, I thought that they were on the decline. I mean, I thought that they're losing power in politics all over. Like the South Korean president was like anti-feminist. Like we have a lot of places. I mean, I thought that if you look at the numbers, that like it looks like that we're not winning the culture war clearly because I guess because Biden is president. But like, well, who's to say that Trump isn't going to win? Who's to say that California isn't going to flip red?
all all of it is going to happen unless and until uh, America is going to get destroyed to the core, burnt to the ground, and then and only then, because all of it emanates from America.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, if Trump, no, but don't you think that Trump can win in 2024? Are you saying that that can't happen?
No, if they could
Oh,
rig the elections once, why do you think they would not do it again?
you see, I guess I have more hope than you.
Well, that
I
is called Pollyannish.
what does that mean? Can
That
you
means Pollyannish.
Polyanish? Is that a what kind of word is that? Is it a Punjabi word or a Hindi word?
It is actually an English word where it is called as Pollyanna, means the person who tries to be optimistic even during the dark phases of pessimism and frustration.
How do you spell that?
Pollyanna.
Never seen that word before. I do not recognize that it's any of those word parts. That's strange. That's a completely new word to me. Let me what it says in my dictionary. An overly optimistic or cheerful person. Oh wait, let me see. Let me have a look if that exists in history because they changed the history books. They changed the dictionaries. Let me see. I've got a Reader's Digest Oxford, and I've got this one is a really good one. The Living Webster. Webster was the first dictionary. Some people in the courts in my country they only used Webster.
I use Oxford.
Let's compare. Okay, P Polynia Poll.
ANNA.
That's Y Poll. Wow, that was lucky. I opened it so close to where it is. Pollya. Yeah. A blindly or overly optimistic person who tends to discover something good in everything. A name originating in Eleanor Portel's novel Pollyanna. Oh, so it's based on a woman's novel. Okay, let's see. What does it say in Oxford? Um, P O P O L. Sorry, is this boring to you? You must tell me if I'm ragging on your ear with all
No,
these
no, no,
strange.
no. It's fine.
I'm I'm on POLI. Does L come after or before? Oh, it's after. POL. Hurling. Pollyanna. A cheerful optimist, an excessively cheerful person. Polynesia. Polynesian. Polynesian. Pollyannism. Pollyannaism. Character in a novel by E. Porter. It's based on a person, and they turned it into an ish and an ism. Can you really turn a person into an ish and an ism? Sounds a bit fishy to me. You see, that's
I
why I
think
didn't. Yeah.
the dialogue delivery could be Pollyanna-ish. That is what I said.
So what you said doesn't even exist in the dictionary. It's not even a form that the dictionary regards. Sorry,
I
I'm not saying
I
that accusatorily.
No, no, no. It is fine. I said Pollyanna-ish.
Oh, you did. And what, so there is an ish according to the Oxford, but there's no ish in the Living Webster.
Yes.
It's in the 1970 Living. This was I think Chicago, the English Language Institute of America, 19 copyright 1971, 72, 73. So this is an early 1970s dictionary. Anyway, references. Um, yeah, but in my view, that's not. I wouldn't use words like that because they're not connected. I mean, they're connected to history. So I mean, I guess you see, I'm not well read, I guess, so maybe that's why I'm a snob about these things. But I like words with etymology, like words that were taken from languages, that they weren't sort of made up by silly little novelists that think that they had a good idea, and then they confected that into a new verbiage. Like turning a noun into a verb. I think is a kind of sorry, this is so technical. I actually have a technical point that relates to some of my research. Like it's interesting because the thing that you say about the Russians, I was putting that into my own political analysis. I've got like 6 hours of political analysis where I go through everything that's happening and making cultural, psychological connections. But it was more to just develop my own psychological model, and I've made further ground as well, which is very great. Sorry, I'm uh, blathering forever. Uh, but when to make a general metaphysical sort of point is that when you when you sort of objectify other people's agency, in my view, it's actually problematic because what you've done is that then you are not using an understanding, you're using an overview in which your own agency is elevated above everybody else. You're sort of everybody else's father, and they are an object in your purport and in your frame of reference. And so you don't have an understanding, you have an overview about the real and overviews about the real, like, well, maybe it's correct because maybe you have sifted out all the factual pertinent information and are actually then have a kind of model that will be predictive. But sort of
Just a point of correction.
okay.
Uh, I'm not imposing my own agency upon other people and other individuals. I'm just imposing my agency in my own sphere of life, sphere of influence, or even in politically correct terms, you could call it sphere of responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. So
That is
you are
my
part of
fam
your sorry.
that is my family, my children, my wife. If the basic biology still exists within the eyes of the state, i.e., the hunter gatherer phenomena. That means that I am the hunter, she is the gatherer, producing my offsprings, and we cannot have responsibility without authority. That leads to dysfunction, that leads to disintegration, and the complete breakdown of family units that has happened and being perpetually radiated via osmosis outwards throughout the Western world and therefore into other areas as well. For example, UAE, United Arab Emirates, has allowed, which is a monarchy by the way, not even a quote unquote democracy by the Western standards, they have actually allowed live in relationships and couples to live over there in United Arab Emirates. So, culturally, the overtone window has already shifted in the Marxists' favor, and they are going to just dismantle naturally built institutions, which is, i.e., family, parent children relations, which has been the case. Doesn't matter whether you follow the capitalist model or the communist model. Even in socialism, women were considered as common property of the state, which is
I just want to make 2 points. The one point on the technical side of what you bring up, politically, I don't think we know what they want. We know what they don't want, supposedly, but we don't know what they actually plan to install in its place because they've never made a positive structure. So I know that that's a confounding point that really horribly just puts your thesis, to one side, and then if you put it to one side, there are real concerns that you have. I'm not dismissing your concerns. I promise you. But what I'm just wanting to say is that if you don't mind the question, please can you answer this question? Is can you tell me your worldview, like the core of your worldview? Like, do you come from no? Are you atheist? Are you secular? Like, just how do you identify your politics? Would you just say that you're a householder? Are you secular? Like what stream would you put yourself in?
I would say I'm an individualist. I gravitate towards more individualism and, embracing freedom, because freedom comes with checks and balances, freedom comes with authorities and responsibilities. It doesn't come freely. Freedom means that you have to rely on your own rather than to look for a big brother government. So that is my worldview. I'm. I
Have
would
you
not say
developed?
I'm religious. I would not say I'm religious, but I am somewhat spiritual, and that's it.
Okay, so if, I'm sorry to be prickly about this, but in my view, your beliefs like don't add up. They're not sufficient to back up and substantiate the kinds of general demands that you're making of society. You know, because in some sense, I'm sorry, I'm very sorry to say this, but in the metaphor of all the things that are going on, like how I conceive of what you're doing is that like you are one of the when the Dutch rebelled against their elites and then they cannibalized them and they ate them, because they the common people in Holland thought that the leaders were sort of too good, and so that they literally ate them.
The Scythians did the same. Scythians.
What part of the Mediterranean is that? Am I correct? Is it Mediterranean?
I don't know, but there used to be a warring tribe
I
or
think
clan
it's the mountain.
called
It's
the
the mountains.
Scythians.
they lived in the mountains, I think, above the people in the top right of the Mediterranean.
I don't know about that, but there used to be a tribe which was very cruel, considered very cruel. So, I mean, and their brutality knew no bounds. Uh, but what I'm saying is, I'm not making any genuine demands. I'm just saying, if you don't even want to have my grievance redressed by any standing authority at any point of time, then I'm just going to reflect like a mirror on the society of what it has become or what it has degenerated into. So I'm just a mirror for the society. And as far as the people are concerned, I say enjoy the decline.
But if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm in my 30s,
I'm 35. So are you also like, are you mid 30s, early 30s, late 30s?
mid 30s,
You're the same age as me, pretty much.
34.
Oh, so I'm 1 year older than you.
Oh yes.
Well, I'm turning 36 in September. I sometimes, because I don't really celebrate my birthday, so I don't really know. It doesn't really ring out to me how old I am when I think about it. But yeah. Anyway, um, okay. Hmm. I mean, you're in the middle of your life, are you not?
Yes.
So don't you think perhaps you're on the cusp of sort of upgrading your perspective on these things, you know, from the level of householder to the level of a statesman, that if you want to have an opinion in politics, in the middle of your life, that maybe you should think about it from the top down and not from the bottom up.
Uh, I don't want to believe actually in being a statesman and not having a top down approach because everything happens from the grassroots level. It is always bottoms up. Be it any grassroots level cultural changes or be it any grassroots level
Yeah,
societal changes.
yeah.
Even in
But
terms of politics, it happens first of all at the grassroots level and then it turns into a wildfire or something. So I'm not a political activist. And Milton Friedman, one of a great economists from US, once said, if you want politicians to do your job, then you are actually wrong. You should create a conducive environment to get the government out of your business. The government is always tyrannical, and that is the case. You give them an inch, they take away a mile.
okay, so I follow a lot of that, not all of it, because I still think that maybe these people are part of the solution. Because you can say that you don't like the condition that they are putting into the world. But in terms of how it is a portent for change, it is in some sense the fire. I see it as the fire that's clearing the earth, of something, and it doesn't seem to be putting anything in its place other than individuals that are just very sensitive the about being able to judge things the way that they see it. That just means that essentially you just have to do your own thing in private, unless you actually think that I mean, if anything, I think I'm the person who should worry, because, like, in terms of how the rules are laid out, like, Like, I don't think an Indian man is going to be killed. I think it's only white people, as far as I can think.
Oh, you are completely wrong.
Ah,
Uh, White people are going to be killed, and they shall be killed. There is no uncertainty about it. But alongside, many other men of different races are also going to be killed, including Asian men, Asiatic men in general, be it a
but this has
Chinese
not.
man, be it a Russian man,
But
or
they haven't
be
gotten
it,
into China, have they? Are
pardon?
they in China? Sorry for interrupting you, but I just wanted to say, but I was going to, but haven't they not? I mean, I'm pretty sure that they haven't gotten into Japan, and that they're not really in China. They're not a force in China, or do you think that they are?
What, feminists?
Yeah.
Uh, they are, but they are not as much as vocal because of the tyranny of the Chinese Communist Party. And it is a male
But the
centric
Chinese
party.
Communist Party already had equality because you already have women judges in China. So they've already culturally assimilated equality between the sexes.
uh,
Am I wrong?
I mean, within the Politburo of CCP party
Yeah.
upper echelons, you
Yeah.
should see how many women are there,
Yeah.
and
I know.
what
I,
decisions and what decisions they actually take in favor of men or in favor of women.
I, I thought, what is the point that you're making? Because I thought that in China, there are very few people, there are very few women at the top.
Representation of women doesn't do anything. Be it a
I don't,
judge.
I don't even, you didn't say a fact. You just said something that I still haven't, I can't interpret it because I don't know what you're saying. When you said, do you know how many people are in China at the Politburo? And I said, I imagine that there aren't that many. And then you continued making another statement. So I don't
No,
understand.
what I exactly said was this. Do you know how many women are there in the CCP Politburo,
Yeah, and I said,
which
I
is
imagine that
the,
there are not that many.
yeah, there are actually two or three
Yeah,
out of 100. So
yeah.
women's representation doesn't do damn because they are taken as a token women,
No, they're
as
not.
a,
No. That maligns the Chinese political system. I mean, I like. Why do you think that feminism has infected China? Why do you think the three women that are there are feminists?
uh, I don't think that these three women who are out there are feminist at all. I don't
Yeah.
think they are feminists, and
You
the
think they're
reason being,
tokens? You think they're tokens?
yes, yes,
I mean, I mean, are you assuming that? I mean, or you think it
no,
looks that way?
no. I know that. I know that for a fact because you have to look at how uh, the current daily activities of a Chinese state happen. They
Hmm.
have cut down the hours of gaming to 4 hours. They have weeded out all these quote unquote sissy men, as they like to call it, or effeminate men, and they are not promoting that sort of LGBT culture in China.
I don't think it was ever promoted there. I imagine. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I imagine that there
Yeah,
was never. I mean,
yes.
it's hard to promote anything in China because everything is essentially run as a conglomerate of the state, a conglomerate that is connected with the state. There are very
So
few free companies in China. There's some gaming companies. Obviously, you know what comes to mind. Tencent.
my point is that these actually are the prerequisite of the elements of patriarchy. The Chinese state is patriarchal in nature by
No, no,
design.
no. That's a generalization. I really think that those three women are not tokens. I don't think the Chinese are hollow like that. I really like. I do think that they believe in equality, It's just that they don't expect equality for them. When I say equality, I mean real equality. I don't mean like token equality. I mean, there's a good reason why there aren't a lot of women in the top. You know, like it's because it's not just often women are interested in different things. I mean, there are a lot of female Chinese scientists. That would be a much better. You know, don't look at the political structure. Look at like some field, some industry, and then then look at Chinese equality. But I mean, politics is a very fathering, managerial kind of secretarial work. You need a kind of brotherhood.
and
It's hard to
and
get
and
women that will act. Some women can be brothers. They really they have that ability. I mean, when I say ability, I
yes,
mean
yes.
in, natural inclinations and natural, you know, I mean, Camille Pagielli, which I can never, I always am embarrassed that I'm not saying her name right. Um, and she told me that I shouldn't be embarrassed, but I keep on feeling embarrassed anyway. But because she's an American, but it's obviously some kind of, I think, Italian name. And like I know that all the Italians that I've ever come across are like, they will nail you if you don't if you don't try to be proper about their about I don't know. It's hard to make the mouth do certain things.
But what is the case is actually these are all masculine, fatherly managerial positions. That is not actually the position or the natural role of a woman.
mm, you know,
Even though, even
no,
though
no.
I would extend an olive branch and say around 6 to 10% of women of the entire world could go toe to toe with a man regarding their own respective fields, be it anything.
I mean, the problem is essentially is time management because a woman has to do things in her early life, so
Ba-
she has to.
basic biology is actually different.
Well, yes. Um,
So how could you make two unequal things as equal?
it's not. You see, equality doesn't mean that they are the. Equality is not this. Is not sameness.
Yes, it
Yeah.
means, but in today's world, it means the sameness.
Well,
If
equality.
you want to, if you think that women want to do jobs which are rather dangerous even for men from masculine or male standards, male centric standards, like military, police, or some jobs which are, you know, rather very difficult, and there could be casualties and work related death. uh, I think women stay away from those jobs. Why there is no equality over there? Why there is no equality in women being incarcerated? Why there is no equality in women committing the same amount or the same percentage of suicides as men? I mean, inflation is going on for everyone, not only for men. Why is there no women fixing or changing their own flat tire and waiting for the car company or some remote mechanic to show up to change their to fix their flat tire? Why is there some sort
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
cushioning system for women
I think we
developed
get.
by the state?
Sorry, can you round up again? Sorry, can you give the conclusion again?
I'm saying why there is sort of a cushioning system, cushion being built by the state at the expense of men for women. I don't see it as equality.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, the kind of equality that we want is not an equality that has anything to do with state enforcement, or is that sort of breaks the natural. bonds that people have with one another because it creates state interference that mediates
The
contracts
state
and
has already interfered.
yes, yes. No, but, I mean the state has always been an interferer, though. Even before it just whatever the state does, it's going to create some kind of influence within the culture. It's going to have some. So but anyway, the point about equality is that equality is always the equality of something. So like so it's equality of what? That's what we have to
Outcome.
talk about. Sorry. Yeah, 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 no,
Equality
no.
of outcome.
Yeah, so obviously these people have that's essentially what they well who knows, because I mean I often think that they're just trolling. I just think that they're trolls.
But here is the thing: men don't do activism, they are just a go getter. Women gain the elbow space via activism because of the biological instinct of a man to facilitate and to protect and provide a woman. They always back off.
Well, I think that that's the problem. I actually do think the problem is men because they
Yes,
don't put women in their place, as it were.
so that is why I'm rather than imparting this MGTOW philosophy to men in general to educate themselves further and break away from the shackles of this matrix.
I don't know how because like when you have then when you're talking about this and you talk about the other side negatively, like you say sanitary towel.
Sanitary pads.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like that's the problem is that when you do that, it makes it look like that you are being resentful instead of being uh, proactive. Like it seems like you hate the other side more than like want to help people. But I mean, again, I do think
So,
the answer is sort of the fourth
so,
episode.
so, so, just a small interjection with your permission, of course. Uh, when a woman says all men are potential rapists, hashtag kill all men, or when a woman says a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, what does that mean? She
Sorry,
is that
I didn't hear
expediency?
I didn't hear the second part of the phrase. Can you say it again? Something
Uh,
a man needs a
uh,
fish like a woman needs a
no, no, no,
bicycle.
no, 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 no. There were sloganeering by all these Gloria Steinems of the world, saying and chanting, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle." And these were the feminists, the second wave feminist from the late 60s.
Okay, sorry, and then who? Oh, you said by the late 60s.
Gloria Steinem. Her name was Gloria Steinem. Gloria Steinem.
Okay, so let me just look at this 1970s dictionary, which was 10 years after that. Uh, Gender, genus. Oh, that's the etymology, I think. And the first one was the pronunciation. Race, kind, sort, gender. I mean, I always say that the meaning of gender is in gender. What do you engender? And so masculinity and femininity are features in the brain. They're like neurological formations. And obviously, I do think that that they are enculturated two ways by the rhythm of the biology, um, the different hormone essentially, and because that conditions the brain heavily. I mean, like like a little baby boy has the same testosterone in his blood as like a bodybuilder going through puberty. It's like little boys are like even at the age of 3, we've got very little. Sorry, we've got very big disparities. Like boys at the age of 3 want to play with outside things or even at the age of 2, they want to play with cars and things like that. And girls are doing indoor scenes. But I mean, I wonder if that's also because the mother is at home, and I wonder if that still happens if the parents are doing reverse roles, if the boys become withdrawn. But I mean, I was told that it's all about the presence of the father, because when the father is active in rearing the child, it's very different for the father than it is for the son than it is for the woman. Because in some sense, I don't think that this is a woman problem. I think this is a father problem. Because when the father is not present in the household, um, and not engaged with the rearing of the child, boys get withdrawn, but girls become when the father withdraws, girls um, what is it? Girls become uh, extroverted and boys become withdrawn, or I would call that introverted.
It
So I mean,
takes
I
a
wonder.
village to raise a boy. I'm
Is
sure
that
you
what it
have
said?
heard this African proverb.
I thought it takes a village. I thought it was an Indian proverb. Then I thought it was takes a village to raise a child or something. Or I
No,
don't know if it was
it takes
gendered.
a village to raise a boy. This
Oh.
was used by Hillary Clinton in her book as well. And
Even
the full proverb, the African full proverb is that it takes a village to raise a boy, and if he is not raised or, you know, let me just see it.
I've got a book of phrases. Let me see if I can find. These are the most valuable books that I own. These small books. This is all you. Well, this is what would make you a good lawyer. Uh, just a word origins, proverbs, quotations. Is it? You said it was a proverb, so should I be looking at the quotations of proverbs?
It is a Nigerian proverb from Yoruba,
Is that
Igbo
what
and Yoruba proverb.
is that what you're basing your worldview on?
Uh, I'm saying if people become hostile towards any individual, they are going to burn down the entire village to feel their warmth.
So sorry, can you say that again, but slower and more elaborate?
I'm saying if anybody becomes hostile towards men in general or boys in general, and if a boy is an outcast by the village, that particular boy is going to burn down the entire village to feel the warmth of the village.
There's this Greek Heraclitus quote here: "Everything flows and nothing stays." And it says you can't step twice into the same river. So the other thing would be that like society must not change.
Uh, Brother, I think I have just 10 more minutes. I have to go to sleep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the chat. I'm going to let you go. I wonder, did we get anywhere? Probably not. But I mean, I do wonder though. You've got a lot of you've got a worldview, but I still think that you should start thinking from the top down, because like you have values, but in my view they're too American, they're too symbolic, and like I don't think they fit together. Essentially, like you have all these sorts of ideas of liberty, and liberty is not free, but then like what does that, like at some point, what has to control that? You need some kind of institutional standards, you need a judiciary, you need arbitration. So someone has to
Yes,
set
but
the standard. Yeah.
you just don't need to disempower a man to empower women via the state. That's it. I'm all for each and everything which you suggest, but not disempowering a man to empower a woman and have equality of outcome via the state.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it does suck for our generation because essentially, you know, the older we get, the harder it gets for us. But I mean, maybe we'll all have wives, maybe we'll be 45 and we'll have wives that are 20. And then that, it'll just be a lost generation of women who are sort of cat ladies and they'll just go into the abyss.
In China, they are called as leftover women.
Yes. So we just need to have a generation of leftover women to scare the younger generation. I mean, like, what can women do by themselves? I mean, are they hoping that we're going to have technology so that they can like freeze their eggs when they're young, and that like that'll be fine or something? I mean, is that their master plan? Because like, I don't. Do they have enough simps that are like scientific geniuses? Like, is that their strategy? Like, you know,
I mean, who knows the future? There is an ample amount of time to prove each other wrong, and I would
or
say
maybe we
let the
should just
games begin.
yeah. Well, I mean, if we just wait 10 more years, I mean, like, if we just keep up, I mean, like, let's not cause any violence or commotion. Let's just see, like, let's just vote the way we want to vote, and obviously you have to dodge bullets, you have to be a bit like Neo, like you have to, you have to learn kung fu, like you know, but
When Neo became Neo, not a single bullet could touch him.
but I just wanted to say
So
though,
I think rather than dodging bullets,
yeah,
we need some sort of backlash which would regenerate Neo into being the one, the
but I
chosen
mean,
one.
but I mean, so you don't see Trump winning in 2024, is that it?
No,
I mean, the science. Have you not listened to Dr. Victor Hansen, Professor Victor Hansen?
I listened to John J. Mearsheimer.
I don't know who that is.
He is
That sounds
from
like, isn't that?
University. He is from
Um,
University of Chicago, a great political science expert.
no, but that's an internet. No, but he doesn't talk about municipal politics here. He talks about the world stage.
Yes, because he cannot talk about the changing demography.
Oh, but I
Demography
mean,
is destiny, as said by French philosopher Auguste
but I don't.
Comte.
But Mexicans are conservative, so what's the problem? Like
But
Mexicans
they
will
would,
vote for
but
Trump.
they would vote leftist as long as they get their stimulus checks, as long as they get nationality, as long as they get citizenship, as long as they get everything. And it is a demographic change that is happening worldwide,
Well, if
even in
if
South
America,
Africa. I know
well,
that.
if America does that, like if they keep on giving out stimulus checks, like the American dollar, the American system is just going to collapse. So like the checks won't be worth anything, and the citizenship to the country won't be worth anything. And I think Spanish people, Mexican people, I think they actually will vote just because, like, they'll vote for the party that's against abortion. Like, I mean, I think that's what they'll do. I think they're more moral
No,
than no.
they would actually I mean, you should understand what is leftism and what it has evolved to be. Taking the example from Soviet Union when it was Tsar's Russia and
Mhm.
Tsar Nicholas II was still alive and the
Mhm.
Bolsheviks came to power, Vladimir Lenin was the one who actually talked about legalizing, free sex, LGBT, each and everything. When the left came to power, means the CCCP, and they wanted to retain the power, someone like Joseph Stalin came in, banned all LGBT. LGBT was banned in the Soviet Union during the tenure of Joseph Stalin and Nikita Khrushchev. This is a
No, but
documented historic fact.
yes, no,
People,
I'm fully aware of all that history. That how
so,
right wing
so, so,
Stalin was.
what I'm trying to formulate is when the left comes to power, just like Vladimir Lenin, he did not talk about gulags, he talked about peace, land, bread. That is how the left comes to power. But to stay in power and be relevant,
They become fascist.
they become the right.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah,
Hardcore patriarchal Joseph Stalin.
yeah, because
But
they
he
have to
was from the
stabilize the
left.
culture.
But he was a patriarch who used to issue wives to KGB agents, including which was enunciated later by KGB defector Yuri Bezmenov. He married three women during his tenure in KGB. He said that in that Art of Subversion video. The Soviet Union used to issue wives. So I see it as a patriarchal model. It
Yeah, but
is
that's
just
just
that
a
it
fly.
is in
I mean, that's not
the
the whole
men's favor.
civilization. Sorry.
I am saying the Soviet Union was also a patriarchal model because if you think that women should be common property of the state, means the state would be in charge of issuing wives to you.
No, 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 but no, no. That's why. Why don't you reframe that and say that the men are just as disposable as the woman? I mean, just because. I mean, if you're told to marry someone, a marriage is made up of two people. Why do you see that as that the women are being distributed? Why don't you see that as that men are being divided?
I see because it is actually mutual exploitation. Women are giving their youth and beauty to a man, and he is ensuring the protection and provision of her after her heydays and during her heydays and her children, her offsprings. And this mutual exploitation doesn't happen with all these feminism and all these laws that are in place,
I
especially
mean,
in the
I
English
would just say
common law.
like how you frame love is very uh, what's it called, quid pro quo. You know, it's a trade. It's a trade. And so,
Yes,
I
it
mean,
is a
if
trade.
you, yeah, so I mean, I guess you have to find a woman who wants to essentially pay the price and take the deal, you know. And I mean, I
Uh,
just think that like, I mean, I can imagine. I don't know any Western woman. I mean, I don't know that who would take that deal because they want. Well, I mean, I
Not
don't know.
even
I'm
an Indian
generalizing.
woman
Who
would take
knows?
that deal. Not
Sorry.
even an Indian woman would take that deal.
No, but even traditionally, do you? I mean, I like because what you've just said, in my view, is an overview. It actually it games people's agency. It dehumanizes people. So, like, I think that metaphor, although it works in that, it's a kind of sociology is amoral metaphysics because it models agency into transactional, kind of trades,
So,
and
where
and
is
there's
the transaction here in which I am demanding genuinely as a man? I want authority over my children. I want authority over my woman. I'm not asking for authority over each and every woman in the world, just one woman.
well,
And
I
if
would say that
the
the
state
basis of that.
cannot fulfill my agency and recognize the basic biological observable reality, i.e., the hunter gatherer phenomena, then what is the use of going through all this brainstorming analyses of the world?
And so, I mean, my point is that authority over, like you want authority over. Well, I say you have to do it above the board. You have to do it above board. You have to do it through legal. You have to find legal means to do it. And I think that how you do it is through law of contract. You have to make contracts, and you have to get women to be involved with contracts. So
So,
like,
so then that proves my point that marriage and relationships are actually contracts, business contracts, and they are not all about all these warm and fuzzy feelings called love and everything else.
well, no, you say that, but you're quite ignorant about contract law because contract law is quite profoundly connected with agency. Like, if you care about libertarianism as you say that you do, I don't think that you actually do because I don't think you understand it. Because the only way to guarantee liberty and freedom is that there has to be someone who will actually impose remedies for contractual breaches and things like that. So,
The,
like,
the contractual breaches actually have already happened, the damage is already done,
no, no, no,
and
no,
there
no,
is
no.
no remedial
Show me
action for
an
that.
example. Show me an example of this contract. Natural law is not a contract. Don't conflate natural law with contracts. The law of contracts is not natural law. Natural law will be used within the interpretation and within the like the adjudication over contracts and the obligations and whatever.
So,
But
so then, going by your example, this law of contract is actually the root cause of all problems. Nobody wants it. To hell with this contractual law.
no, that's not true. I want the law of contract because I actually care about liberty. I'm saying that you're a hypocrite because you say that you like the symbol of liberty, but you're not willing to put up with contract, the law of contract. So you want liberty without contract, which means you just want tyranny and domination.
Tyranny and domination actually works.
Yes, it
Tyranny
does
and
work, but it
domination
doesn't work for
works.
you. So don't cry about it then. I mean, like you're going to be outbred. Like I still hope that I'm going to have a wife and I'm going to have kids. Like
Okay, good for
you,
you.
yeah, okay. I mean, but I can't get behind you because you don't have a reasonable plan. I mean, like you,
No,
you say
no,
you stand for
the,
things, and I don't think you do stand for the things that you think that you stand for.
no. What I'm saying is feminism is a self-correcting problem. When the
Well, even
government
no,
goes
no, no,
down,
no,
when the
but my
nation
view, no,
state,
no, no,
when the
my view is
state
that
organized, just listen to me, when the state structure is absent, patriarchy prevails within the
patriarchy
animal
what?
kingdom as well.
Patriarchy what? I didn't hear. Patriarchy what? Pivots, did you say?
Prevails
Pre- when the state does what? What prevails?
when the state structure is absent.
Yeah, yeah.
In the absence of the state structure, patriarchy prevails. Look at the animal kingdom.
I mean,
Well,
again, but
there is
that's a patriarchy is a vague concept. I mean,
so
if you
so so. Are
you
you
think
saying that the
patriarchy,
animals
you have
are not
defined
free?
patriarchy as tyranny and domination, and to abscond
That
with
is
the
your interpretation of tyranny and domination because you are trying to conflate it with patriarchy. That is
no,
not patriarchy. Just a small correction. Just hold on.
you
That
don't
is
want to.
called just a small correction. Just hear me out. That is actually called androcentrism, which means male nature uninhibited. You could look it up, Google it right now as we speak. That is actually that men could do each and everything. Within a patriarchal model, it is not tyrannical, it is not dominating, it actually makes a civilization to prosper, flourish, and populate the landmass. With culture is what? Culture is people. Just like in South Florida or California, where there are no English speaking people, people are speaking Spanish.
Uh,
No
you,
hablo English over there. So my
you've just
point
made like
is,
you've just made three non sequiturs, but continue.
yeah, fine. What I'm trying to say is, I'm not trying to have thesis, antithesis, and synthesis via the Hegelian dialect. I'm not trying to, I'm just trying three quick points for you
You're
and
trying to
your
say this
viewers.
metaphor is real, and I'm trying to say no, it's not real. It's an overview. It's a projection that you are projecting.
Pardon, pardon. What am I projecting?
A metaphor.
So what is not real?
This thing called patriarchy.
Oh, it is not real.
It's an overview. Did I not define
It is not
overview?
real.
Don't
It is
remember
not
the
real.
definition that
So,
I
so,
gave you.
so, according to you, it is not real. Yes or no?
It, it's real in your interpretation alone. You are interpreting it into reality.
Oh, so I'm interpreting it into reality. Okay,
Yes.
fine.
And I'm
So,
saying that you are mixing an internal locus of control with an external locus of control. You're confusing it. And then you're getting an
oh, okay.
overview, and then you are being conceited about it.
Oh,
And I'm
I'm being
saying that you can
conceited
get
about it.
what you want. I'm not saying that what you want is bad and what you see as evil is not evil. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you're not even being proactive about your own beliefs because your own
So,
beliefs don't
so,
make sense. They
so,
don't actually fit together.
yes, and that is actually the case in
Point.
point of all the
Yes.
problems.
So
That
you want women to love you even though like your brain is scrambled, even though you're like you're
women actually
unintelligent.
don't love men.
Okay, so you don't believe in love, and so
Yes,
that's okay.
I
Okay, so
believe in
you
mutual
want to be
exploitation.
successful. Yeah. Sorry. What?
I believe in mutual exploitation.
Okay.
A man has to provide for a woman, protect his children,
So I
and a
don't
woman
know where
has
you
to
got
give
that. Why
her
don't you just
youth
why
and
don't you
beauty
just
to a man.
why don't you just put that on like your dating profile? Why don't you and then give all your stats? You know, like
I
this is
don't
what
want
I
to date.
okay. Well, an arranged marriage system. Like, why don't you
No, I
try to
don't
set
want
up?
to marry. I would
Oh,
never marry.
because it's dangerous.
No, because I have
Because
suffered some heartbreaks before and I don't want to talk about it.
okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's fine.
I mean, I so have I. I mean, it's a hard knock life, as they say. But what is the measure of a man? I mean, I do think that we should, even though it's probably not going to happen for us, even though it's probably not, I still think that we should strive. That's my that I think is the attitude.
Oh,
Like,
in that we are in agreement, we should strive, but for ourselves only, not for
no,
finding a woman or chasing tails.
no. I mean, look, I don't actively search. I mean, I'm not actively. I mean, I don't have the ability to, and I don't have any
The
income. I
motive
don't have.
behind working out, the motive behind each and everything should not be of procreating and having children and having a lovable wife or something. It should be for you and you exclusively.
No,
That's it.
I don't. I don't believe that. I think that that's a hideous way of. I mean, I'm a scholar and a gentleman, sir. I'm sorry. I don't subscribe to this Darwinistic sort of. I mean, there's nothing spiritual there. I mean, where do you get your spirituality then? I mean, do you just imagine it personally? I mean, you don't share it with anyone.
Uh,
You say that you're
spirit,
spiritual, but
spiritual is with what I share with my own experiential consciousness with the rest of the spiritual cosmos. Why do I have to share it with finding another woman?
so you
And
want to go to Nirvana? Is,
nirvana
is that
actually means non existence.
well? But I mean, that's what I thought you were describing. You want to escape this plane of existence. You want to be other.
That should be the goal of every human being.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't agree with that form of spirituality. Sorry, I'm going over. We can. Shall we continue this because you need to sleep in because you're working, are you not, and such. I would
I'm
like
not
to have a
working.
religious. I would like to have a spiritual religious discussion with you, but I mean, if you'll still have me, please.
I actually don't have much time. I could spare only 5 more minutes.
No, no, we're already over time. I actually want to end this because I don't. You know, you say you want to sleep. You know, and
Yes.
sleep is important. So let's, if we can talk again, I'll be very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
it was wonderful talking with you. I'm sorry you got if it got heated. I mean,
No, no,
you know,
no. No, it's fine.
it's good to have heart to
Look,
heart.
look, I would be honest with you and tell you, as well as your audience live, not behind the broadcast or something. I used to have a chip on my shoulder because I had not ingested and absorbed the red pill, as they say, or men going their own way philosophy, as they say, entirely. I had insecurities. I used to think every woman is evil. Now that I know about myself and I have convinced myself that I'm never going to never going to cohabitate with a woman, and I'm never going to marry a woman. That problem is already solved. Now people could make head or tail out of it as and when they want, but that is just me, and I'm just living life like a monk, and that is how I want my retirement years to go by as well.
And do you think that? Sorry, uh, did you have that same worldview before you came to those conclusions? I mean, so you obviously you believed in love at some point, and then that was crushed.
Yes,
It was eaten out of you. It was
I
drained out
think
of you.
it was more like, physical, I would say, or romanticism, which was ingrained within us, poured within us via the companies we keep, or peer pressure sometimes, or things like that. But I learned from Buddha's life that when he was an emperor, when he was actually, you know, traveling, he came to a realization that I want a higher level of consciousness to get all the answers of my questions. He had a son, and he had a wife as well. So he left all of that to gain that higher level of consciousness, or that is what you refer to as nirvana. That is what should be the goal of every human being, and I think every human being could be or would be able to achieve it, or not able to achieve it, but they should at least attempt sincerely, just once.
Yeah. I mean, what I want to focus on when we talk about this again is the difference between nirvana and satori, because and I know that you kind of you implied essentially nirvana in an incarnated kind of way, but I do think that the cross pollination between Hinduism and Buddhism made many different interpretations, and many there are lots of different schools of thinking and such, but I also maybe want to teach you the alchemical method, that and put it in a metaphysical context, because like I think that when you sort of see an overview, I mean, I told this one guy this overview which was very inspiring, but it just went in one ear and out the other, I think. Anyway, but I wish I could have shown you that, because like that gives a very robust worldview, but it doesn't come to me, uh, or I'm just tired as well. Excuse me. Let's all go to sleep. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm sure we'll pick this up again, and we'll see what it's like. Anyway, cool.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
Cheers.
evening. Good night.